the most powerful phone in history. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Detoxification. On horseback, Xu Feng made a calculation in his mind, knowing that Li Xingyan had to go through Yazhou City if he wanted to go to Zangbing Valley, so he headed in the direction of Yazhou City. When I arrived in the city, I felt that the atmosphere in the city seemed a bit tense. There were many Xuanming believers holding portraits and looking for people to compare their faces. Startled, Xu Feng thought they were trying to catch him, so he carefully avoided the Xuanming sect's people. It's a pity that a few members of the Xuanming sect saw him sneaking around, rushed up immediately, grabbed him, and went towards the person in the painting. Xu Feng was planning to kill these minions, but unexpectedly discovered that the person in the portrait was not him. Seeing that Xu Feng was not the person they were looking for, those members of the Xuanming sect pushed him aside and shouted, "If not, get out of the way, don't block the Xuanming sect's work." But Xu Feng recalled the person in the portrait in his mind, but found it a little familiar. After thinking about it for a long time, it suddenly dawned on him that the person on the painting was Li Xingyan, who he had glanced at on the stone bridge. They're looking for Li Xingyan? I remember that Li Xingyan and his junior sister were hiding in the woods outside the city yesterday. Could it be that He Wuchang fought them again after I left? No wonder He Wuchang didn't come after me. After thinking about it for a while, Xu Feng guessed that it was almost inseparable. It seems that although the plot has changed a little because of me, the general direction is still stubbornly developing towards its inherent destiny. Then Li Xingyan must have been poisoned by He Wuchang's corpse, and I'm worried that I won't be able to find them. Xu Feng knew that Lu Lingxuan would definitely come out to buy glutinous rice to detoxify his senior brother, so he paid attention to several rice shops in the city. Sure enough, it didn't take long, and Lu Lingxuan really waited for him. Lu Lingxuan is the daughter of Lu Yaoji, the captain of Xiangang 36, the bad guy. Her father died at the hands of Black and White Wuchang. Looking at her from a distance, one can see that she is also very juicy, with full breasts, long thighs, and a slanted ponytail. She is a beautiful woman. After buying the rice, her brows were unfurled, obviously worried about her senior brother. Xu Feng followed her, but she didn't notice it at all. After walking for a while, I passed a restaurant. A circle of people surrounded the restaurant, and there was a lot of noise inside, as if something happened. Seeing this, Lu Lingxuan was curious and wanted to go up to watch the excitement. Xu Feng knew that she would offend the second hero Zhang Zifan if she watched the excitement, and would cause a lot of trouble, which he didn't want to see, so he quickly appeared and stopped in front of her. Lu Lingxuan almost ran into Xu Feng's arms. She quickly took a step back and exclaimed, "What are you doing?" But when she saw Xu Feng's face clearly, she exclaimed again, "Wrongdoer." Hearing her exclamation, many onlookers who were looking at the restaurant turned their heads to look at the two of them. Xu Feng was stunned. What's going on? How did I become a heartless person? But before he could ask clearly, Xu Feng said, "Miss Lu, your senior brother is still seriously injured and is waiting for your help. Let's go quickly." "Ah, how do you know my surname is Lu, and how do you know that my senior brother is injured?" The crowd eating melons next to them looked like they were enjoying the show, and Xu Feng knew that the people from Xuanming sect were nearby. "Miss Lu, I don't have time to explain now. Let's go quickly. It's important to save your senior brother. Those who don't follow the Xuanming sect will come." Although Lu Lingxuan was full of doubts, she thought that this heartless person was an enemy of the Xuanming sect yesterday, so she should not be with the Xuanming sect, so she turned around and left. Not a while after Xu Feng and her left, a drunkard flew out of the restaurant. It was Zhang Zifan who had drunk his drink, but unfortunately he didn't have any beautiful women to throw him down at this time. Lu Lingxuan led Xu Feng to an uninhabited alley, then she turned around and said coquettishly, "You heartbreaker, what do you want to do with me?" Xu Feng scratched his head and said with an embarrassed smile, "Miss Lu, you call me like that? I'm terrified. I don't seem to have done anything to apologize to you. Miss Lu, how did you become a heartless person?" Lu Lingxuan snorted coquettishly and said, "Why aren't you a heartbreaker? I saw it in the woods yesterday. That sister begged you not to leave her, and you still turned your sword against him." Only then did Xu Feng realize that she had misunderstood, so he had no choice but to explain, "Miss Lu, you really misunderstood. I am not familiar with that girl, and it was the first time I saw her yesterday. Lu Lingxun opened his eyes wide and said angrily, are you stupid for thinking I'm a girl? It's the first time you met her, so you're still wearing the bride and groom's clothes. Xu Feng knew that the matter was too complicated, so he couldn't explain clearly at the moment, so he said, Miss Lu, I didn't lie to you, but it's true that your senior brother was poisoned by the corpse. Are you still in the mood to talk to me here? She let out a cry, as if she had just remembered something serious, and shouted, it's all your fault, I'm leaving. After saying that, he turned around and left. Xu Feng shook his head, and continued to follow. Lu Lingxun, who was walking, turned his head abruptly, and Xu Feng almost bumped into him. Why are you following me? Xu Feng turned his head innocently and said, is there? Did I follow you? You are not the only girl who can go this way. Lu Lingxun said angrily, you. But she just took the saber to the pawn shop to buy her rice for her senior brother. She knew that she was not Xu Feng's opponent with bare hands, so she had to give up and turn around and continue walking. Going back and forth like this, Xu Feng finally followed Lu Lingxun to the inn where she and her elder brother rested. As soon as Lu Lingxun pushed open the door, he found Li Xingyan fell on the floor of the room. He quickly dropped the rice bag, ran up to pick up Li Xingyan's head, and exclaimed, Senior brother, how are you doing? It's a pity that Li Xingyan seems to be unconscious at this time. His eyes and lips are dark black, obviously poisoned. Lu Lingxun cried, brother, how are you doing? Answer me. Xu Feng pushed open the door and went in. Seeing this situation, he said, your senior brother has been poisoned deeply, you must detoxify quickly. Lu Lingxun had lost her mind. She panicked and said, senior brother asked me to buy glutinous rice, but he didn't tell me how to use it. After closing the door, Xu Feng stepped forward to check it out. He remembered that Zhang Zifen used his skills to detoxify Li Xingyan in the animation. Thinking that he was already in the late stage of the day after tomorrow, he should be fine. So he said to Lu Lingxun, I'll help you detoxify senior brother, please be careful not to let other people disturb us. Yes. Lu Lingxun nodded hastily. At this moment, she had no time to think about anything else, and she no longer entangled with Xu Feng's identity. Xu Feng straightened Li Xingyan to sit upright, and then he sat behind him, putting his palms on his vest. Although he had never tried this method of exercising power to force poison, he had no choice but to give it a try. He mobilized the energy in his body, and then passed it into Li Xingyan's body in front of him through his hands. Immediately, he felt that the inner energy in Li Xingyan's body was disordered, and there seemed to be an evil black energy running around. He concentrated his energy and used his power to drive away the evil black energy. After more than an hour of hard work, all the black energy was concentrated in Li Xingyan's left hand. Lu Lingxun watched nervously from the side, and she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when she saw her senior brother's complexion slowly improve. Xu Feng withdrew his skills, and then said to Lu Lingxun, do you have a knife or a sword? Lu Lingxun believed him very much at this moment, picked up his senior brother's saber from the table next to him, and said, here, what do you want? After receiving the sword, Xu Feng pulled it out, then picked up Li Xingyan's left hand, and said, bleed your senior brother. As he spoke, he cut it with a sword, and Lu Lingxun on the side screamed, don't hurt my senior brother. But Xu Feng just cut a small cut on Li Xingyan's finger, and thick black blood flowed out from the wound with a stench. After a while, the bleeding slowly turned bright red again. Xu Feng stood up and said, okay, let's bandage your brother, he should be fine. Please recommend tickets, do you have a reward? Oh. Chapter 52. In the canteen downstairs of the inn, at a table in the corner, there were 3 young people, 2 men and 1 woman, who were Li Xingyan's brother and sister and Xu Feng. However, the atmosphere between the 3 of them seemed a little weird. Li Xingyan took a big sip of wine and said, junior sister, you said this kid saved me. Lu Lingxun peeked at Xu Feng's face next to him, and then said in a low voice, yes, senior brother, I will buy glutinous rice as you said, and then. She narrated what had happened, and then said, senior brother, thanks to him for saving you, otherwise you would have died. Li Xingyan scratched his head. Of course he had no choice but to believe what his junior sister said, and then he cupped his fists towards Xu Feng and said, thank you for saving me, brother, but I don't know your name yet. Xu Feng on the side also cupped his hands and said, my name is Xu Feng. Li Xingyan said, brother Xu Feng, I just don't understand one thing, Why did you follow my junior sister to the place where we rest? Obviously he is smarter than Lu Lingxun, and he has some doubts about Xu Feng's motives. Xu Feng had already thought of an excuse, and said with a bit of embarrassment on his face, I'm ashamed to say, I saw Miss Lu on the street, and I admired her very much. I wanted to find out which girl she was, so I had no choice but to pretend I followed Miss Lu, but finally I saw Brother Li poisoned by corpse. How could I not save him? When Lu Lingxun heard Xu Feng say that he fell in love with her at first sight and admired her, he couldn't help but blushed, bowed his head and was speechless. Li Xingyan obviously didn't expect this to be the reason. He was stunned for a moment, and when he realized it, his face showed anger, and he stepped forward and grabbed Xu Feng's collar. Beast, I warn you not to think about my junior sister, you stalker. Lu Lingxun thought that he was going to hurt Xu Feng, so he hurriedly stepped forward and said, Brother, let go. Li Xingyan snorted and let go of Xu Feng's collar. Xu Feng coughed a few times, and he knew that this was a cover-up, and Li Xingyan should no longer suspect his other motives. The three sat down and ate and drank for a while. Lu Lingxun peeked at Xu Feng, seemed a little embarrassed, but still blushed and said, Why were you chased and killed by the Xuanming sect yesterday? Xu Feng was about to explain, but Li Xingyan on the side shouted, By the way, I almost forgot, didn't you still get entangled with a girl yesterday? You were still wearing wedding clothes at that time. I didn't expect you to come to pester my junior sister today, Gan. He said to Lu Lingxun, who was beside him, Junior sister, don't be fooled by him. Brother Li, Miss Lu, you don't know something. Yesterday was. Xu Feng told the truth, but he concealed the fact that he swallowed the fire Ganoderma. After listening to his explanation, Lu Lingxun said, So you are trying to lure away the female thieves for the old man in the city, and then those Xuanming sect people want to snatch the fire Ganoderma lucidum. Yes. Well, that's why we blamed you. The misunderstanding was resolved, and Xu Feng saved Li Xingyan's life, so the two brothers and sisters naturally became close to him. It's just that Lu Lingxun kept thinking about what Xu Feng said about her admiration for her just now. When she looked at Xu Feng, her face would always turn red. As a girl, this was the first time she was confessed. Xu Feng naturally didn't expect that the lies he told casually to cover up would affect the feelings of a young girl. And Li Xingyan asked Xiner to serve a lot of wine. He said happily, Brother Xu, let's have a drink. I want to thank you very much. Xu Feng originally wanted to build a good relationship with the two of them, so there was nothing wrong with it. It's just that when he drank this ancient wine, it was as if it had been mixed with water, and the strength was probably only about the same as modern beer. So even though drinking from a big bowl is completely fine. While drinking, Li Xingyan said, Brother Xu, maybe we will part ways after today, let's have a bowl. When Lu Lingxun heard that she was going to say goodbye to Xu Feng, she was startled. She looked at Xu Feng and said, Brother Xu, I don't know where you are going next. She really didn't want to part with this, but she also knew that she and her senior brother were ordered by their master to go to the sword house in Hongnan Mountain, so they couldn't delay. Xu Feng naturally knew where they were going, drank a bowl of wine and smiled slightly. It's been a while since I came out to practice in the Jianghu this time, so I'm going to go home. Lu Lingxun asked anxiously, Home? Where is your home? After she finished asking, she realized that she had lost her composure, and quickly lowered her head, her little face blushing even more. Xu Feng smiled and said, My home is in Luoyang. As a result, Lu Lingxun raised his face happily and said, Really? That's great, then we just happen to be on the way, right? Yes, haha, Brother Xu, let's go on the road together tomorrow. It's just that Li Xingyan looked at Lu Lingxun, full of doubts in his heart. He didn't understand what happened to his junior sister at all today, and his behavior was very strange. After a meal, it was getting late, and the three of them rested in the inn. The next day, the three of them left Yazhou City and headed towards Luoyang. The three of them walked together, but they were not lonely. It's just that secretly, as soon as they left the city gate, people from the Xuanming sect had already been following them. He Wu Cheng missed Hoganaderma lucidum that day. He thought that he would not escape punishment after being raped, but he unexpectedly discovered Li Xingyan's identity by accident. When they returned to the subhelm in Yazhou, they immediately wrote to Po Meng, telling Po Meng that they had found the whereabouts of Uncle Yang. Of course Po Meng knew that if she found Uncle Yang, she would be able to find the Longquan sword, so she immediately ordered to send the 5 kings of Hades and Xuanming sect to arrest Li Xingyan. At this moment, Xiao Sheng Yanjin Zhang Zhaoyi has arrived in Yuzhou ahead of schedule. In the Yuzhou branch of Zunming held, the environment is eerie and terrifying. Xiao Sheng Yanjin is sitting high on it, and is teaching black and white impermanence. You two trash, with so many people in the whole branch, you didn't take back the fire Ganoderma. If it wasn't for Po Meng's sake, I would have killed you all directly. He Wu Chang Haoling quickly said, Master Yanjin is wise. My little sister and I are willing to commit crimes and make meritorious service, and do our best to assist Lord Yanjin to capture Li Xingyan. Zhao Shen Yanjin was about to say something more, but at this moment, a black crow flew in from outside and landed on his shoulder. It was the letter crow specially used by Zhuanming sect. Zhang Zhaoyi took a note from the crow's paw, and after reading it, his face lit up with joy. Bai Wuchang Zuanling said enchantingly, Lord Yanjun, have you found the whereabouts of that kid? Zhao Shen Yanjun said, that's right, the congregation came to report, I just saw them leave the city. Bai Wuchang said, then let's catch them quickly, don't let them get away. No, Granny Meng has an order to let the 5 of us go out together, and the 4 brothers haven't arrived yet. Bai Wuchang covered his mouth and said with a coquettish smile, Lord Yanjun, the general will not accept the order of the king outside. That kid's martial arts is low. You, Lord Yanjun, are enough to deal with him alone. If you wait longer, you might just let him run away. Zhao Shen Yanjun was originally simple-minded, but now he heard Bai Wuchang's bewitching. He thought it was right. His flame dragon palm has been cultivated to a great extent, and his skill has reached the star level, so it would be easy for him to deal with 2 brats. So he said, you two are right, pass my order, and immediately summon all the men and women in the sub-helm, and follow me to arrest Li Xingyan. Black and white impermanence said in unison, obey. Chapter 53 System Tasks. Xu Feng, brother and sister Li Xingyan and Lu Lingxuan walked for half a day, and they were far away from Yuzhou city. It was already noon, and the 3 of them were hungry, but unfortunately there was no place to eat by the roadside. It was in the wilderness, so the 3 of them had to take out the dry food they had prepared in advance to satisfy their hunger. The 3 of them were eating, drinking, and chatting occasionally, when Xu Feng suddenly heard rustling sounds from the surrounding woods. Since his breakthrough to the late day after tomorrow, his senses have improved a lot. If he hadn't heard such a small sound before, he would definitely not be able to hear it. He reminded in a low voice, someone is coming. Li Xingyan and Lu Lingxuan were surprised. They didn't hear any sound. But they still believed in Xu Feng, and put away their things one after another. As soon as the 3 stood up, they saw many masked men in black rushing out of the surrounding woods and surrounding them. And when they saw the clothes of these people, the word Zhuanmingjiao came to the minds of the 3 of them. Sure enough, the man in black facing them made a gap, and 2 people, one black and one white, stepped out of it. Black and white impermanence. Lu Lingxuan gritted his teeth. Heck, little sister, I miss you so much, yo, I didn't expect you to be here, it really didn't take much effort. Seeing Xu Feng, Bai Wuchang's face showed joy. In this way, he obtained Hoganaderma lucidum and captured Uncle Yang's apprentice, which was a great achievement, and her elder brother's status in Zunming sect could be improved. Period. He Wuchang also laughed and said, Zhuanling, it seems that God is helping us both too, haha. Xu Feng looked at the 2 of them, and said with a sneer, aren't you overjoyed too early? Can you catch us with just the 2 of you? Li Xingyan also said, that's right, I let the 2 of you run away last time, this time I must kill you to avenge Uncle Lu and Grandpa Li Huan. Lu Lingxuan quickly drew out her broken sword, panting, take your life. Black and white Wuchang giggled together, and at the same time, behind the 3 of them, there was also a heroic laugh. The 3 of them were startled, and when they looked back, they saw the black-clothed congregation separated, and a short, fat man walked out from among them, with half his arms bare, and his face was full of beards, and his laughter was exactly what he was making. You 3 little dolls are really brazen. You don't know the heights of the heavens and the earth. I advise you to be obedient and grab your hands. Who are you? Lu Lingxuan looked at him and shouted. Bai Wuchang covered his mouth and giggled, little girl, this is our Lord Zhao Shen Yanjun, you will never escape this time. Xu Feng looked at the situation on the field. There were about 100 ordinary congregants surrounding them, and then there were 3 masters, black and white Wuchang and Xiao Sheng Yanjin. Black and white impermanence are all masters of the middle star position, and Xiao Sheng Yanjun, As one of the 5 great kings of hell, is even a master of the big star position. The situation seemed a bit troublesome. He was worrying, but a system voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Mission: help brothers and sisters Ye Xiner take revenge. Completion reward system coins plus 600. Xu Feng was overjoyed. He didn't expect to trigger a system task, which he had been longing for all along. Revenge? The enemies of Ye Xiner and Lu Lingxun are black and white. If you want revenge, you have to kill them. Defeating them is one thing, but killing them is another. We can't let them run away. Thinking quickly, Xu Feng already had a preliminary plan, and said to Ye Xiner, Brother Li, I will deal with this Hao Shenyanjin later, and I will leave the rest to you and Miss Lu. Ye Xiner had seen Xu Feng make a move in the woods before, and knew that his martial arts were not weak, so he agreed. Xu Feng took a step forward and smiled at Zhao Shenyanjun. Zhengzhaoi? I heard that you are the most useless of the 5 Yama kings. I will meet you today. When Zhao Shenyanjun heard this, he roared angrily, Stinky boy, what a big tone, don't kneel down and beg for mercy. Xu Feng didn't answer, he kicked his foot on the ground, and then he rushed towards Zhao Shenyanjun like a cannonball. At the same time as he made his move, Ye Xiner also rushed forward and fought with black and white Wu Chang, while Lu Lingxun fought with ordinary Zuanming disciples. On the other side, Xu Feng, relying on his super fast speed and the profound skills acquired in the later period, blasted out with punches. Zhao Shenyanjun dodged each of Xu Feng's punches with a sinister smile. He saw that Xu Feng's punches had no moves at all, so he couldn't help laughing and said, Boy, I didn't expect that you don't even know martial arts. What is this? Crop style. As he said that, he stretched out his hand to catch the punch that Xu Feng just delivered. He wanted to take advantage of the situation to cripple the kid in front of him, but he didn't expect an unusually deep internal force from the fist, which made him take a step back. Zhao Shenyanjun's face changed drastically, and he exclaimed, How is it possible that you have such profound skills? It's no wonder that he was surprised. A brat, playing tricks, has much deeper internal energy than him. It's a pity that Xu Feng didn't bother to respond to his surprise. He just transported his power to his whole body, increased his speed again, and then punched continuously. Zhao Shenyanjun put away his contempt, and began to go all out. He was worthy of being one of the 5 great kings of Hades, with strict moves and tight defenses, and quickly stabilized his position. In this way, Xu Feng would not be able to take advantage, but he still maintained his offensive posture. For him, offense was much easier than defense. The battle on the field fell into a stalemate for a while. Black and white were impermanent with the help of ordinary believers. Although Ye Xiner was a small heaven, he couldn't do anything to them for a while. And although Lu Lingxun only has the strength of a middle star, it is enough to protect himself against ordinary congregants. Zhao Shenyanjun paid attention to the situation on the field, and thought that he must fight quickly, so he let out a roar, and suddenly his hands turned red, emitting flames, and used his famous stunt Flame Dragon Palm. With the use of the Yanlong Palm, Zhao Shenyanjun's strength was more than doubled immediately. Xu Feng was no longer his opponent, and began to clumsily move from left to right, and encountered danger repeatedly. Both Lu Lingxun and Ye Xiner noticed his danger and wanted to step forward to help, but they were both held back. Bai Wuchang chuckled and said, Lord Yanjun's Flame Dragon Palm has reached perfection, that kid is doomed. At this time, Xu Feng was also screaming unlucky in his heart. He clearly felt that his body was full of strength, but he couldn't exert it. This feeling was very aggrieved. Facing Yanlong Palm, he had already begun to lose. When he was worrying, a systematic voice sounded in his mind, a new acquired B-level martial skill Yanlong Palm has been added to the system store, and the price is 500 system coins. Xu Feng looked happy. He remembered that this was the function he and the system wanted a few days ago. As long as anyone who fights with him, his moves and skills will appear in the system mall. And the moment he was distracted by the system's voice, Zhao Shenyanjun seized the opportunity and slammed his palm on Xu Feng. Xu Feng was directly beaten and flew more than 10 feet away, and then fell to the ground. Lu Lingxun from a distance saw it and exclaimed, Brother Xu. Chapter 54 Killing the King of Hell and Killing Impermanence. Lu Lingxun wanted to step forward to help, but Zuanming's disciples desperately tried to stop her. Zhao Shenyanjun laughed loudly, Boy, it's good that you have deep inner strength, but it's a pity that you are too tender after all. And Xu Feng was lying on the ground after being hit by this palm, and seemed to have passed out, without any movement. Seeing Li Xingyan over there, he got up desperately. Xiao Xian Wei's strength broke out in an all-round way, and the black and white impermanence gradually became exhausted. Zhao Shenyanjin originally wanted to go up and give Xu Feng a slap, but now seeing that black and white impermanence couldn't hold on, thinking that Xu Feng had lost his fighting power anyway, he just laughed and joined the black and white impermanence battle circle. As a result, Li Xingyan began to be unable to hold on anymore, and the strength of Zhao Shenyanjin, who used the Yanlong palm, was close to a small heaven. Under the siege of the three, after Li Xingyan held out dozens of moves, one of them accidentally fell into Zhao Shenyanjin's flame dragon palm. Injured, he was immediately surrounded by the Xuanming disciples with knives, and then Lu Lingxun was left. Black and white Wu Chang shot together, and also took her down. Zhao Shenyanjin received his power, his palms returned to normal. He laughed and said, "I told you little ones not to talk big, how are you doing now?" Bai Wu Chang chuckled and said, "Lord Yanjun, your Yanlong palm is really superb. In time, Lord Yanjun, you will definitely be able to enter the small heaven." He Wu Chang also smiled and said, "Yes, Lord Yanjun, this time we captured the two apprentices of Uncle Yang, and the boy who stole the fire Ganoderma. After returning, Lord Underworld will definitely reward Yan greatly. Lord Jun, you are gone. When the time comes, Mr. Yan Jun, you will definitely rank first among the 5 great Yan Jun." Zhao Shenyanjin was flattered by the two of them. Satisfied, he laughed and said, "You two have made a lot of contributions this time. I will report it to Lord Mingdi when I go back, and you brothers and sisters will also wait for it. Get promoted and get rich." Black and white Wu Chang glanced at each other, and said with joy at the same time, "Thank you Lord Yan for your cultivation." At this time, both Li Xingyan and Lu Lingxun were held around their necks with knives by the Xuanming disciples, unable to move. Seeing Xu Feng who was not moving on the ground in the distance, Lu Lingxun said worriedly, "Senior brother, big brother Su, he will be fine." Wu. Junior sister, "No, brother Su has profound skills, so he must be fine." And Zhao Shenyanjin said, "That boy over there, go and see if he is dead, and see if there is fire Ganoderma on him." A few members of the Xuanming sect were ordered to walk towards Xu Feng, who was lying on the ground in the distance. Bai Wu Chang said, "This kid is not easy, he was able to last so long under Lord Yanjun's hands, but it's a pity that he was still defeated by your old man." Zhao Shenyanjin said, "This kid has deep internal strength, but his moves are nonsense, very strange." Profound internal strength? He Wu Chang muttered. Suddenly his eyes widened. Could it be that this kid actually ate the fire Ganoderma? What? Dare he? Zhao Shenyanjin and Bai Wu Chang both exclaimed. At the same time, the screams of Xuanming cultists also came from the other side. What? What? The three of them turned their heads one after another, only to see that the congregants who were sent to check had all died under Xu Feng's hands. Xu Feng stood up slowly in the distance, his palms were filled with flames, and they were all red. Zhao Shenyanjin opened his eyes wide, with a face full of disbelief, while He Wu Chang tremblingly said, Yanjun, then, that kid's hand, is it the flame dragon palm? No, impossible, no, possible, how could this be? Xu Feng walked over step by step, he felt his arm was full of explosive power. Just now, Xu Feng was knocked aside by Zhao Shenyanjin's palm. Xu Feng had deep internal strength and was not injured at all. He couldn't wait to open the system wall in his mind, and sure enough, there was an extra product, Yanlong Palm. He wanted to buy it right away, but suddenly remembered that the last time Zixa cheats, he spent 50 system coins to learn, and then spent 100 system coins to accelerate 500%. Thinking that this time it won't be such a trap again, I quickly asked the system in my mind, and the system replied, no, they will be sold in packages in the future, and the price I marked includes everything. That is to say, I bought it for 500 system coins, and I can use it immediately, right? There is really something wrong with the host's brain. Is it difficult to understand my words? Xu Feng took a look, he still had 1940 system coins left. Without hesitation, he immediately spent 500 system coins to buy Yanlong Palm. With a deduction of the system currency, a huge amount of information flooded into the mind, and at the same time, there seemed to be some kind of muscle memory in the body. This feeling is as if he knew the flame dragon palm from the very beginning. It's amazing. At this time, Several members of the Xuanming sect were about to come up to check. He directly used the Flame Dragon Palm. The power was beyond imagination, and instantly killed those minions. Looking at Xu Feng who was walking towards him, Zhao Shenyanzhen murmured that it was impossible, roared, and also attacked Xu Feng with the Flame Dragon Palm. The moment the two palms were handed over, Zhao Shenyanzhen was completely stunned, because he felt that what was transmitted from Xu Feng's palm was indeed Yanlong's palm force that he was no longer familiar with. But the same Flame Dragon Palm, used by Xu Feng, is much more powerful than Zhao Shenyanzhen. When the two palms met, Zhao Shenyanzhen was blown away, a mouthful of blood gushed out from his mouth, and he lay unconscious on the ground. Seeing black and white Wu Chang, his face turned pale with fright, and he wanted to turn around and run away. But how could Xu Feng let them go? He wanted to complete the system task. With a kick, his body was like a bolt of lightning, directly behind He Wu Chang, and a palm blasted out. He Wu Chang couldn't avoid it, so he turned around and wanted to take the palm forcefully. Xu Feng knew that there was corpse poison in He Wu Chang's palm, so he withdrew his palm and kicked it flying. Before it landed, a palm was imprinted on its back, and Yanlong's palm force exploded, directly scorching his clothes and killing him with one palm. On the other side, Bai Wu Chang had already run far away, but when she saw He Wu Chang was killed, she ran back again shouting brother. It seems that these black and white Wu Chang brothers and sisters really love each other deeply. It's a pity that he will not show mercy. This black and white Wu Chang has done so many evils, how many sins he has committed, how can he be a soft-hearted person? The Flame Dragon Palm blasted out. Bai Wu Chang had no strength to resist at all. He vomited blood and flew far away. Xu Feng was about to step forward to make up the last blow when he suddenly heard Lu Lingxun's cry, "Brother Xu, can you leave her to me? I want to avenge my father myself." It turned out that Li Xingyan saw Xu Feng's sudden outburst. He took advantage of the Xuanming disciples' inattention, escaped from the pressure, rescued Lu Lingxun, and came towards him. At this time, He Wu Chang was dead on the field, Bai Wu Chang was still breathing, and Zhao Shenyanzhen lay on the ground beside him, not knowing whether he was alive or alive. Of course Xu Feng has no objection. Anyway, he just needs to complete the system tasks, and he doesn't have to commit suicide by himself. The surviving members of Xuanming cult over there were frightened out of their wits, and lifted the unconscious Zhao Shenyanzhen for to go as if. And Zhao Shenyanzhen is not considered the enemy of Lu Lingxun and Li Xingyan, so Xu Feng did not go after him. Lu Lingxun's chest was heaving violently, obviously emotionally fluctuating in her heart. She stared at Bai Wu Chang on the ground and said, "Bai Wu Chang, you killed my father, Uncle Lu Ji, and Grandpa Li Huan 8 years ago. Today I will kill you to avenge them." Bai Wu Chang clutched his chest. The corners of his mouth were covered with blood, but he still smiled ferociously. "Little girl, let's do it. My elder brother is dead. What's the point of me being alive?" Ha! Lu Lingxun gritted his silver teeth, held a broken sword, and pierced Bai Wu Chang's heart. His laughter stopped abruptly. The black and white impermanence that had been in the rivers and lakes for many years died. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55. With Bai Wu Chang's death, a system voice sounded in his mind. "Congratulations to the host for completing the task. Reward system currency plus 600. Xu Feng heard that. He called up the character interface and checked his current comprehensive status. Name, Xu Feng. Sex, male. Age, 20. Grade, late acquired experience, 879/10000. System coin, 2040. Skills, Zixa Divine Art, 100%, Yanlong Palm, 100%, Unlock App, WeChat, Kidian Reading, Xiaomi Video. Just over 2000 system coins? Then you should be able to buy a cubic meter of space, but let's wait until you complete a few more tasks before buying." Lu Lingxun killed his enemy and avenged his father. The emotions that had been pent up in his heart for 8 years were released at once. Tears flowed unknowingly, and he murmured, "Father, my daughter avenged you." And Li Xingyan also felt a sense of emotion. He knew that Xu Feng was able to kill black and white Wu Chang this time. "I really don't know how to repay this kindness, Brother Li. Why be polite? This black and white impermanence does a lot of evil. Everyone gets it and punishes it, and I'm just doing justice for this guy. Since then, Li Xingai's brothers and sisters have become even closer to Xu Feng, and the three have truly become life and death friends, but Xuan Mingjiao never appeared again after that defeat. On this day, the three of them went to a small town and found an interesting eat. Lu Lingxuan put the broken sword on the table, and said, "The group of little devils taught by Xuan Ming have been scared out of their wits by brother Xu Feng. I don't think they dare to trouble us anymore. Lin Zhuan, we still have to be careful." Since the relationship became closer, Xu Feng also called Li Xingai the same as Lin Zhuan. Xu Feng feels that these days are a little too peaceful. It is said that no matter Xuan Mingjiao, Huan Nianfeng and Tong Wengun, they all want to find the Longquan sword. How could they just let Li Xingai go? When he was wondering, suddenly someone knocked over the table next to him. Xu Feng was attracted by the noise and turned his head away, and saw a man who seemed to be drunk. His face was red, his hair was white, and he was walking shaking and belching. When the other guests saw him, they avoided him for a while. Obviously no one wanted to provoke a drunkard. When he walked past Xu Feng's table, he couldn't stand upright and fell to the ground, right next to Lu Lingxuan's leg. He hugged Lu Lingxuan's calf and murmured, "Mother, lady, hiccup." Ah! Lu Lingxuan was taken aback, stood up and pointed at the person holding her leg, and said, "Who are you calling a lady? A rascal. How dare you take advantage of my aunt and grandma? See if I don't punish you." As he spoke, Li Xingai drew out his long sword, and Li Xingai stepped forward, pulled the person who fell on the ground away, grabbed his collar and said, "My boy, you dare to molest my junior sister in front of me, you don't want to live anymore." Yet, but that person seemed to be really drunk, his face was red, his eyes were blurred, and he was indifferent to Li Xingai's threat. Instead, he let out a smirk, hugged Li Xingai and said, "My lady. Stop you, haha." Li Xingai pushed him to the ground and cursed, "Damn, you can take advantage of the young master, you really." Xu Feng, who was watching from the side, guessed that this person's identity should be the director of the Tongwen curator, Zhang Zifen. In the plot, Zhang Zifen should have known Li Xingai's brothers and sisters long ago, but because of his own intervention, the changes occurred. I became a friend of Li Xingai's brothers and sisters instead of him. It's just that I didn't expect it to finally appear. It seems that what should appear will eventually appear. The plot is like the fate of another world. Although it will be changed by myself, it seems to have the function of automatic correction. That Zhang Zifen was pushed to the ground, but seemed unconscious, got up again with a silly smile, then hugged Li Xingai again and said, "Mother, lady, you are so fierce." Lu Lingxuan watched from the side, covered his mouth and said with a coquettish smile, "Brother, it seems that he has fallen in love with you." Li Xingai was full of disgust, and pushed Zhang Zifen desperately, but he hugged Zhang Zifen so tightly that he couldn't break free for a while. But Zhang Zifen smirked, closed his eyes, and stretched out his mouth to kiss him. Li Xingai pressed his mouth desperately, leaned back constantly, and wailed, "Help, junior sister, your senior brother, I'm going to be molested, brother Xu, help me, my first kiss." Lu Lingxuan giggled coquettishly, but Xu Feng was a little surprised. Li Xingai was hugged by Zhang Zifen but couldn't break free. It seemed that Zhang Zifen had at least the skill of a small heaven. "Bastard, drunkard, if you get close to me again, you will be outraged." At this time, Zhang Zifen's mouth was only an inch away from Li Xingai, and he shook his head amusingly. Xu Feng was about to step forward to help Li Xingai. Unexpectedly, someone made a move ahead of time, and Zhang Zifen was slowly lifted into the air. His mouth was still trying to reach forward, but he was getting farther and farther away from Li Xingai. It took him a while to react, and then he saw in a daze that his feet had already left the ground. He smirked and said, Why did I fly?" Li Xingai broke free from his restraints, fell down on the stool, gasped for breath, patted his chest and said, "It's so dangerous, I almost lost my virginity, brother Xu, junior sister, you don't want to save me." Lu Lingxuan innocently blinked his eyes wide, and said, "Senior brother, I just wanted to help, didn't someone take the initiative?" The three looked at the person who grabbed Zhang Zifen's back collar, and saw that he was extremely fat, wearing bright red and green clothes, and had a large mole on his face. Next to him was a woman who was completely opposite to him, with a figure. She was extremely thin, but exaggerated makeup was applied on her face, as if to cover up her pockmarked face. The thin one covered his mouth and smiled, "Sister, how handsome this kid is, Tisk tisk. The fat man looked up to the sky and laughed. Yeah, only such a handsome guy is worthy of our beautiful sisters. Ha ha ha. The two spoke with strong accents, and it was very pleasant to hear. The chubby one looked at Zhang Zifen, slapped his face, and said with a smile, "Boy, we sisters have taken a fancy to you, and you will be ours from now on." Zhang Zifen was confused. He smirked and said, "Hiccup, this year is, and there is such a good thing, there's a daughter-in-law." The thin woman covered her mouth and said with a coquettish smile, "Sister, let's stop talking and go to the bridal chamber. A spring night is worth 1,000 gold." The obese sister laughed. "Oh, let's go to the bridal chamber." As he spoke, he was about to drag Zhang Zifen away. Lu Lingxun couldn't help being curious, and said, "Wait a minute." The two sisters stopped in their tracks and said, "What are you calling my sisters?" Lu Lingxun smiled awkwardly and said, "Ha ha ha ha, thank you for saving my senior brother. I don't know the names of the two beautiful beauties." After saying this, Lu Lingxun himself felt embarrassed, because the two sisters in front of him couldn't get in touch with him anyway. Unexpectedly, the two sisters laughed and were extremely happy, and the chubby said, "Miss, you really have vision, little sister. My name is King Guo." The thin orchid pointed, "My name is King Cheng." After speaking, the two hugged Zhang Zifen with a charming smile and left. Show cuteness and ask for a reward? Please recommend a ticket. Oh. Chapter 56. Seeing the sisters who are all over the country and all over the world walk away with Zhang Zifen, Li Zingyan finally couldn't help laughing. "I'm dying of laughter. These two sisters are so beautiful, but they claim to be all over the country." Puha. Xu Feng also feels sorry for Zhang Zifen in his heart. It seems that he will lose his virginity to the two sisters tonight. The three of them finished their meal and it was getting late, so they asked for 3 upper rooms in the inn to rest for the night. In the early morning of the next day, the people in the inn who were still sleeping heard a terrifying scream, which seemed to contain various emotions such as panic, confusion, and regret. Awakened by his voice, Xu Feng and the others also got up and began to eat breakfast. After a while, the door of one of the rooms on the second floor opened, and the distraught Zhang Zifen and the King Guo King Cheng two sisters walked out. After they went downstairs, King Guo King Cheng ordered a large table of dishes, and then sat around Zhang Zifen, one stuffed chicken legs into his mouth, and the other stuffed meat, but Zhang Zifen didn't seem to feel it, and let the two sisters needle. The three of Xu Feng were eating, so it was inevitable that they would not pay attention to their table. Lu Lingxun looked at it for a while, and then said softly, "Senior brother, Brother Xu, you see, that person seems to be crying." Sure enough, 2 lines of humiliating tears flowed down the face of Zhang Zifen, who was surrounded by 2 beauties, while the 2 sisters on one side seemed to be completely unaware, and kept stuffing food into his mouth, saying, "Come on. Hurry up and eat, you worked hard last night, you must make up for it." That Zhang Zifen finally couldn't bear it anymore, spit out the food in his mouth, thumped the table with both fists, and shouted, "Enough." The chubby King Guo said, "What's the matter, mister, are you full? Why is your appetite so small?" Zhang Zifen said with tears in his voice, "You 2 girls, Zifen got drunk last night and offended the 2 girls, I just want to ask a question now." King Cheng pointed at the orchid, "Sir, what do you want to ask?" Zhang Zifen said, "I just want to know that last night you and I were there, was there, that?" King Guo King Cheng laughed loudly, and his voice shook the room. "What do you think? What's the matter, you kid don't remember what happened last night?" Zhang Zifen's face was ashen, covered his face with his hands, took a deep breath, and said, "Can you 2 girls treat me like a fart?" King Guo flicked the chicken leg in his hand, the fat on his face trembled, and said, "What's wrong, don't you want to be responsible? Sure enough, you men don't have a good thing, and you don't recognize anyone when you lift your pants. You were shy last night." Calling her a lady with a face. King Cheng also said, "That's right, our uncooked rice has already been cooked, you have to be responsible for us sisters, do you know?" Zhang Zifen clenched his fists tightly, lowered his head and gritted his teeth. "In this case, although I, Zhang Zifen, never hit women, I will make an exception today." As the voice fell to the ground, one of them turned over and landed on the open space in the hall, looking at the 2 of them. Xu Feng, Li Zingyan and Lu Lingxun on the other side, the 3 melon eaters, watched such a wonderful scene so early in the morning, and already forgot to eat, but seeing that Zhang Zifen really wanted to do something, Lu Lingxun said softly, "Brother Xu, should we help out later?" That man seems to be very good at martial arts, so he won't really hurt those two girls. No, it's okay, just watch it. Xu Feng thought to himself, the strength of the two sisters who are overwhelmed by the country and the city has reached the middle heaven, and Zhang Zifan is no match for them. Sure enough, on the court, the two sisters of King Guo King Chang lifted the table. King Guo was obese, but moved very fast. Before Zhang Zifan could react, they slapped Zhang Zifan away. The two sisters were so powerful that they beat Zhang Zifan without any power to fight back, and after a while they cleaned up Zhang Zifan properly. Here, Lu Lingxun and Li Xingyan opened their mouths wide, with disbelief on their faces. They never thought that these two faceless girls would have such strength. And the two King Guo King Chang tidied up Zhang Zifan, looked around the hall, all the other tables were smashed by them, and the only survivor was Xu Feng's table. They supported Zhang Zifan, walked to Xu Feng's table, and said, "Hello, let's squeeze in and have breakfast." Of course Xu Feng had no objection. He and Lu Lingxun and Li Xingyan sat on one side of the table, and there was just one side left. The two sisters sat down with Zhang Zifan sandwiched between them, and then let the shopkeeper serve the food again. The fat King Guo said to Zhang Zifan, "Be good this time, eat well." That Zhang Zifan lost his temper after being beaten, but he still seemed a little unwilling to give up. He gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, Two girls, I still want to ask you a question." King Chang said, "Speak." I want to know that, the point that the two girls fell in love with Xiaoshen. I am really afraid to be loved by the two beauties." King Guo King Chang laughed again. "Does this need to be said? Of course you are handsome." A gleam of light flashed in Zhang Zifan's eyes, and he said hastily, "So that's the case, then you see, don't these two handsome young heroes? They are no worse than Xiaoshen and me." He was referring to Xu Feng and Li Xingyan. Xu Feng was innocently lying on the side of the gun, his face turned cold, and Li Xingyan's face was not very good looking, but before the two of them spoke, Lu Lingxun spoke first. "What do you mean, kid? Are you courting death?" She didn't expect that this nasty boy would actually lead the dirty water to senior brother and brother Xu. When she thought that if those two ugly monsters on the opposite side really entangled senior brother and brother Xu, she would not be able to beat these two ugly monsters at that time, wouldn't it? "I'm going to lose senior brother and brother Xu, the more I think about it, the angrier I get." But after listening to Zhang Zifan's words, the overlord over there looked at Xu Feng and Li Xingyan, nodded and said, "That's right, they are indeed quite handsome." Zhang Zifan seemed to feel hope, and hurriedly said, "Then you too." King Guo slapped him on the head and scolded, "What do you mean? We sisters are the kind of people who start in chaos and end up abandoning? Who told us sisters to get to know you first, so don't play with such crooked thoughts in the future gone." As a result, Xu Feng and the three breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that it was a good risk. After finishing their meal, the two of them said to Xu Feng and the other three, "I've met you for a while, and I don't know the names of the three of you yet." So Xu Feng and the three shared their names, and Zhang Zifan also introduced himself. After that, Zhang Zifan seemed to pin his hope of escape on Xu Feng and the three, and he asked Xu Feng and the three where they were going. Xu Feng didn't want to tell him at first, because he knew Zhang Zifan's identity clearly, and he obviously wanted to find an opportunity to get close to Li Xingyan's brothers and sisters. Li Xingyan also remained silent, but Lu Lingxun had no intention of telling their destination. Upon hearing that, Zhang Zifan said quickly, "It's just right, I'm going to Luoyang too, let's go together." In this way, it is naturally difficult to refuse, and if Zhang Zifan wants to follow them, of course the two sisters will follow. Chapter 57. The team of three suddenly became 6 people, among which Xu Feng and Zhang Zifan had their own goals, but the identities of the two sisters who were overwhelmed by the country and the city were very mysterious. The two sisters were pestering Zhang Zifan along the way, and the two sisters also agreed to have sex with Zhang Zifan separately on a daily basis. If these two sisters really have the capacity to overwhelm the country and the city, then they are really a blessing for everyone. The 6 went all the way, and Xu Feng found that the Xuanming sect had completely disappeared. In fact, with the current strength of the 6 of them, even if the 5 Hades of the Xuanming sect were dispatched together, they might not be their opponents. After all, among them, King Guo King Chang has the strength of the middle heaven, and Li Xingyan and Zhang Zifan are both small heavens. As for Xu Feng himself, he estimates that his strength should be at least a middle heaven. On this day, 6 people came to a small town and stayed in an inn. When the 6 of them were eating in the lobby, Two high-ranking people at the next table spoke loudly. Hey, have you heard? There is a rumor recently. What rumor? I heard that the Xuanming sect has found Uncle Yang, and they are sending people to arrest Uncle Yang. No way, I heard that the Longquan sword is in the hands of Uncle Yang. Doesn't that mean that the Xuanming sect is going to get the Longquan sword? Who said it wasn't? When Lu Lingxun and Li Xingyan heard the news, their faces changed drastically. Li Xingyan clenched his fists, got up and walked to their table, and grabbed one of them by the collar. Where did the news you just said come from? The man caught by the collar struggled desperately, but found it was completely useless, so he said tremblingly, I have a brother who works in the Xuanming sect. I heard what he said. Roll. Throwing it off, the man fell to the ground, got up quickly, picked up the sword and escaped from the inn with his partner. Li Xingyan returned to his seat with a gloomy face, and Lu Lingxun said anxiously, Brother, what should we do? I don't know either, I want to go back and have a look. When Xu Feng heard the conversation between those two people, he knew that this must be a trick of the Xuanming sect. The original plot was that members of the Xuanming sect could not deal with Li Xingyan with hard methods, so they used this fake news to lure them back to the sword house, and then the Xuanming sect and the people from the Huanan Fang Tuangwen Hall followed them. The two brothers and sisters found Jianlu behind. And Xu Feng knew that the Longquan sword was actually in the hands of the bad guy. If Li Xingyan really ran back to the sword house, it would waste a lot of time. Although the speed of time in the different world is 1/10 of that in the real world, Xu Feng still doesn't want to waste time if he can. So he reminded Li Xingyan aloud, don't be impulsive, this may be a trap set by Xuanming sect. Trap. Li Xingyan and Lu Lingxun's eyes widened. Yet, think about it, the place where your master lives in seclusion is so secret, how could the Xuanming sect suddenly find it? I guess this is probably the fake news they released, so that you are worried that the master will return to the sword cottage, and then you can benefit from it. Lu Lingxun and Li Xingyan seemed to think that what Xu Feng said made sense, and they both bowed their heads in thought. On one side, the two sisters who are all over the country and all over the city are at a loss. They don't know what happened, but Zhang Zifen's eyes flashed a hidden light. Li Xingyan suddenly let out a sneer. He slowly raised his head, looked at Xu Feng and said, Brother Xu, I've always wondered why you have been following my two senior brothers and sisters. Now that you have finally been exposed, did you come here for my master? Xu Feng was startled, and said, Brother Li, why did you say that? How could I? How could it be? Li Xingyan's face was painful. Haven't you realized that you are giving away? When did my junior sister and I tell you where my master is? How did you know about the sword cottage? Xu Feng was speechless, thinking that it was terrible, but he forgot this little detail in order to remind Li Xingyan. What? Have you nothing to say? That only means that you have investigated us a long time ago. Various thoughts flashed through Xu Feng's mind, thinking about how to make up for it, and said, Brother Li, I know you won't believe me now, but I can only say that I really have no other plans. Really? But how can I trust you with empty words? Haha, it turns out that you are the same as those people from Xuanming sect, you are all the same. Lu Lingxun was stunned for a long time. She couldn't believe all of this. She looked at Xu Feng with red eyes at this moment. Xu, Brother Xu, are these all true? What the senior brother said, is it all true? Looking into her eyes, Xu Feng sighed in his heart. He couldn't say any more words of defense. He came here for the Longquan sword, and they didn't think he was wronged. Let's go. No, think, see, you. Li Xingyan lowered his head and said every word. Xu Feng had no choice but to stand up, and said slowly, Brother Li, Lin Zhuan, I just want to say that I am very happy walking with you during this time. There are some things that I can't explain clearly, but I treat you brothers and sisters well, it's true. After speaking, he grabbed a sword on the table. The sword was bought in the small town last time, turned around and left. Lu Lingxun watched helplessly as Xu Feng disappeared from sight, and she felt blood dripping from her heart. And Li Xingyan slammed the table with both fists. Obviously his heart was not at peace. Looking at the atmosphere, Zhang Zifen felt embarrassed, touched his head and smiled. You too, I didn't expect Brother Xu to be like this. Shut up. Li Xingyan roared, you don't have good intentions, we don't need to go together anymore, junior sister, let's go. After saying that, he turned and left. Lu Lingxun hurriedly followed. Lu Lingxun caught up with Li Xingyan and asked, Brother, where are we going now? Are we going back to the sword cottage? Return. No matter whether the news is true or not, you have to go back and have a look in person before you can rest assured. Xu Feng took the sword out of the inn, with a touch of sadness in his heart. During this time, he and Li Xingyan and Lu Lingxuan really became friends who talked about everything, but they suddenly fell out because of this kind of thing. But he also knew that this was inevitable. Even if he didn't turn his back on him at this time, after Li Xingyan got the Longquan sword, he still wanted to snatch it. Perhaps it would be the best choice to break the connection first. Thinking about the next step in his mind, Xu Feng knew that with Li Xingyan's temperament, he would definitely go back to Jianlu to confirm the safety of his master. Should I follow up secretly? Forget it, I'll find a place to relax and wait for work. Anyway, he will be safe in the end. I'll just wait for him to come out of the rivers and lakes with a Longquan sword. The plan was made. Xu Feng bought a horse in the town, and rode the horse towards the Luoyang. Chapter 58 Sanskrit Saint Ji. Riding a horse with a sword, walking in the rivers and lakes, when the road is uneven, draw a sword to help. This is the dream of many people, and Xu Feng is no exception. Now he is in the middle of painting rivers and lakes, and there is still some time before Li Xingyan gets the Longquan sword. Thinking about his own martial arts is also very good, and now we are in troubled times, which is the time when knights are most needed. Xu Feng just wanted to experience the feeling of being a hero, so he traveled all the way north, hoping to see some injustices, so that he would have a chance to act a hero. It's a pity that it seems that the sky is not fulfilling the wishes of people. After walking for more than 10 days, he just didn't let him encounter any injustice. Today, I traveled to a big city, not far from Chang'an and Luoyang. It can be seen that the city has experienced heavy military disasters. The walls are riddled with holes left by the war, but the city is still very lively. There is not much pain on the faces of the people. In the chaotic world, it is very satisfying to have a moment of peace. Looking at these, Xu Feng was also very moved. In fact, as ordinary people, what they ask for is so little and how simple. No matter who is the emperor, what they want is to live and work in peace and to survive. It's a pity that a Longquan sword was born, and the world will start to be in turmoil again. Maybe it's a good choice to take the Longquan sword by yourself? With feelings, Xu Feng found a restaurant in the city and ordered special dishes to taste. He had the 200 taels of silver gifted by the old man with him, which was enough for these meals and drinks. In the different world, no one knows whether they will come again in the future. Xu Feng's request to himself is not to miss these delicious food. After eating and drinking enough, Xu Feng left the horse in the restaurant and asked Xiner to take care of it, and he started to wander around the city by himself. There are many small stalls on both sides of the street, selling all kinds of gadgets. Looking at it casually, and unknowingly walked to a luxuriously decorated pavilion. Such luxurious pavilions are rare in the city, only a big plaque with the words Yuelao written on it. Xu Feng was taken aback, thinking Yuelao, it can't be ancient, can it? Just as he was wondering, he smelled a gust of wind. A well-dressed woman, about 42 years old, in her mid-mature age, waving a fan, stepped forward and grabbed Xu Feng's arm, saying, "Oh, my lord, you look good handsome." Ah! Xu Feng was startled, and said, "No, no. Hey, you're still shy, isn't it?" She giggled coquettishly, "Don't be afraid, my son, I won't eat you. I have a lot of beautiful girls here. You won't regret it if you take care of me." As he spoke, he tugged Xu Feng in, and said with a coquettish smile, "Girls." Immediately, several young girls came up and hugged Xu Feng and walked in together. Xu Feng wanted to struggle, but the girls pushed him too tightly, and he thought to himself, this is in ancient times and in a different world, so it should be legal, right? And in fact, he was also instinctively curious about this kind of romantic place, so he was taken into the building half-heartedly. The decoration style inside is also very gorgeous. The hall on the first floor is also a place to eat, but there is a woman sitting next to every guest, and some women are even direct. The old lady who pulled him in smiled and said, "My lord, do you want to drink some wine first?" Xu Feng came to his senses and said quickly, "No, no, I just had dinner." That's it, how about finding a few girls to sing a few ditties to the young master? Without waiting for Xu Feng to answer, she dragged Xu Feng up to the second floor, opened one of the rooms, pushed Xu Feng to the seat, then turned around and went out to clap her hands. After a while, about a dozen young girls filed in and stood in front of Xu Feng in a row. "My lord, you can choose whatever you want," They are all good girls who are both talented in singing and dancing. Xu Feng scratched his head in embarrassment, and raised his eyes to look at the dozen or so girls one by one. He only felt that all of them were very beautiful, and there was no difference. In fact, he already regretted it in his heart, and was thinking about how to escape from this gentle town. Seeing that he didn't respond, the middle-aged lady said, "Young master is not satisfied. It doesn't matter, I have a lot of girls in Yuelao." So she clapped her hands, and the dozen or so girls went down, and then a dozen or so young girls came up. It's a pity that Xu Feng is caught in the battle between heaven and man in his heart at this moment. On the one hand, he tells himself that he can't do this kind of thing, but on the other hand, he seems to say that it doesn't matter. The girls changed batches after batches, but Xu Feng still didn't respond, and Sun Yuang smiled coquettishly. "Master, you really have a very high vision, and don't like these vulgar fans. It just so happens that my top card is free, so I will let her come and see the sun." Not long after, I saw a bell ringing outside the door. The ringing was crisp, and a woman appeared in the room following the sound. He was barefoot, and the clothes he was wearing showed his slender legs, with slits on both sides reaching to the buttocks, and his face was as red as peaches and plums. Xu Feng seemed to have finally come to his senses. Looking at the woman in front of him, he was surprised by her beauty. When he came to the painting rivers and lakes, he also met several beauties. Jiruxu and Lu Lingxun are both beauties with their own characteristics, but this woman in front of him is not bad at all compared to the two of them, and there is another charm in her power. Seeing that Xu Feng's heart seemed to be moved by that old lady, she covered her mouth with a smile and quietly closed the door and went out. Only Xu Feng and the woman were left in the room, and his old face blushed. Xu Feng thought to himself, is his life going to end today? The woman laughed and turned around deftly. Following the woman, Xu Feng only felt an unusual fragrance rushing into his nose, which he had never smelled before. You smell so good. Did you wear any perfume?" Xu Feng asked curiously. No, there's a strange fragrance from birth." "Well, ahem, can you get up first, that girl?" "I don't," the girl said, stretching out her hands to hook Xu Feng's neck, staring at Xu Feng with her eyes and saying, stiffened for a while by his fiery actions and words, Xu Feng felt that he was riding a tiger. Curiosity killed the cat. He regretted why he couldn't help but come in to see it. However, due to his distraction, Xu Feng didn't see a weird smile flashing across the mouth of the woman in his arms. The beauty suddenly exerted force. Xu Feng was taken aback. Feeling the softness of his mouth and the aroma filling his nose, his mind became dizzy and he couldn't control himself anymore. It's a pity that after a while, he felt his mind getting heavier and heavier, and finally fell asleep directly. The woman in her arms turned around lightly and stood up straight, looked at Xu Feng who had passed out, reached out and stroked his cheek, giggled and said with a coquettish smile, "Boy, your skill is not bad, you can actually be under the psychedelic fragrance of my Sanskrit heaven. For so long. Tisk tisk, if the Empress hadn't personally appointed you, maybe I really couldn't bear it." Chapter 59 Stunning Empress. Xu Feng woke up in a daze, and found that he had an abnormal headache. His whole body was bound by ropes, and he was jolting, as if he was in a carriage. Slowly recalling what happened, he couldn't help but secretly regret, "Damn, I got caught by accident. Women are indeed poison to men. Yo, son, you are awake." Xu Feng turned his head hard, saw a pair of beautiful legs, and then looked up. It was the top girl of Yuelao. "Girl, why are you arresting me?" In fact, he had roughly guessed the identity of the person in front of him, but he still planned to ask to confirm. The woman smiled enchantingly. "It's not that the servant wants to arrest you, it's the Empress who wants to see you." Sure enough, it was the Empress. Xu Feng understood, and then asked, "Empress? Then dare to ask the girl who you are." "Heck, I'm the Sanskrit heaven of the 9 heavens Saint Ji. I don't know the Empress before, why does she want to see me?" "Young master, don't pretend to be stupid. Heck, you not only snatched the fire Ganoderma that our Lord Empress needs, but now you are even together with Li Xingai's brother and sister. Our people have been monitoring you for a long time." Knowing the cause and effect, Xu Feng began to think about how to escape. If he was really arrested and taken to the old lair of Huanayan Fang, he would be in trouble at that time. Feeling the ropes binding hands and feet, I thought that most of the martial arts masters I had seen before could break the ropes with internal force. My own internal force is already so deep that I should be able to break it too. He was about to try, but suddenly heard the voice of the system in his head. New task, go to the Fang to meet the Empress, and successfully escape from the Empress, and reward the system with 1,000 coins. Fuck, no, I don't want to play like this. Now Xu Feng was in a tangle. If he ran away now, obviously he would have no chance to complete this task, and if he went to meet the Empress to complete this task, would he still be able to escape when he thought that the Empress was a great master? But thinking that there are too few system tasks, this opportunity to earn system coins is rare. He has always been in urgent need of system coins. Gritting my teeth, I struggled for a while, and finally realized that benefits always coexist with risks. Obviously, there can be no gains without taking risks, so I gave up the plan to break free from the rope. The carriage traveled westward all the way, walking day and night. Fan Yinshan provided him with delicious food and drink on the way. And when she saw that Xu Feng had no intention of running away, she was a little surprised at Xu Feng's calmness. This day finally arrived at the main rudder of Fang. Xu Feng knew that the Empress was actually King Qi Li Maozian, and King Qi's fief was in Fengxiang, so the main rudder of Fang must be in Fengxiang. Blindfolded by Sanskrit Fan Yinshan, he turned around and turned around. When the black cloth on his eyes was finally removed, Xu Feng found himself standing in a magnificent palace. The entire hall is extremely luxuriously decorated, the pillars are engraved with exquisite patterns, the floor is covered with expensive carpets, and there are 2 rows of maids covering their faces standing on both sides of the hall, but judging by their figures, it is certain that each of them is a beautiful woman. And at the top is a gorgeous big seat. Through the curtain you can see that there seems to be a woman lying on it. Xu Feng knew in his heart that if there were no mistakes, that woman should undoubtedly be the Empress. He felt that this hall was simply a royal palace, and it was no wonder that the Empress was originally King Qi. That Fan Yinshan took a step forward, knelt down on one knee, and said, I want to report to the Empress. Fan Yinshan fulfilled his mission and brought back the boy you wanted. The person in the upper curtain didn't move, just said softly, untie him. Its voice is crisp and ethereal, like a yellow warbler coming out of the valley, and like clear streams and flowing water, which can arouse infinite reverie just by hearing the voice. Xu Feng couldn't help being very curious about what the Empress looked like, and he could only vaguely see a rough idea through the curtain, which was even more provocative. Fan Yinshan stepped forward, untied the rope that bound Xu Feng, and stood aside. Xu Feng twisted his tied-numb arm. He had already thought of countless countermeasures in his mind all the way. He knew that it was secondary for the Empress to arrest him for the fire Ganoderma. I am afraid that the big reason is to use it. He came to blackmail senior brother and sister Li Xingyan. He coughed and said, My Lord Empress, I don't know why you invited me here. The woman lying on the top turned over, sat up, stared at Xu Feng and said, I asked you to come, don't you know? Last time you spoiled my good deed and snatched it from Zuir's hand. Fire Ganoderma, where is Fire Ganoderma? Xu Feng smiled, My Lord Empress, I'm so sorry, I've already eaten the fire Ganoderma, and now I can't spit it out for you if you want it. The maid next to her shouted, Bold, how dare you be rude to Her Majesty the Empress? The Empress above raised her hand and stopped the maids. She said, Since the fire Ganoderma was eaten by you, that's all. I asked Zuir to snatch it, but I just didn't want it to fall into the hands of the Zuanming sect. So the Empress doesn't blame me. The Empress smiled lightly, You have already said it, and you have already eaten it, so am I an unreasonable person? Your Empress is wise. If this is the case, can I go? Let's go. Young master, how could you want to leave right after you came here? Do you blame me for the poor hospitality in Fang? Please also ask you to stay in my Fang for a period of time, so that I can show my kindness as a landlord. Xu Feng sneered in his heart. It was exactly as he had guessed. The Empress must have sent people to watch all the time. Seeing that he was a friend of Li Xingyan's brother and sister, now he was arrested, and wanted to use him to lure Li Xingyan's brother and sister to take the bait. My Lord Empress, let's keep it clear. I know you want to use me to blackmail Brother Li and Lin Zhuan, but I'm afraid you made a wrong calculation this time. How should I put it, Mr. Xu, are you not their friend? Or is that Li Xingyan a person who would not save himself? Xu Feng shook his head and said, Your Majesty, you don't know. I used to have a good relationship with Li Xingyan's brothers and sisters, but I had a falling out with them more than 10 days ago. Otherwise, how could I have separated from them? The Empress's voice turned cold. Really? In this way, I really made a wrong idea. In this case, You are useless, so I have no choice but to kill you." At this moment, the Empress's reaction was within Xu Feng's expectation. He said, "My Lord Empress, but I have a very important piece of information that I want to share with you. I wonder if you are interested in listening to it." The Empress sneered, "Oh? You're not looking for a way out for yourself, are you? What information can you, a kid without any background, have? Sanskrit will do it." Sanskrit on the side was ordered by heaven, and immediately shot towards Xu Feng. There was no other way, so Xu Feng had no choice but to take the move. In one Yuelao, he fell for Fan Yinshan's psychedelic fragrance carelessly. When he started a real fight, Fan Yinshan's skill was far behind him, and he used Yanlong Palm. Just after the move, Fan Yinshan was sent flying with a palm. Seeing this, the masked maids on both sides came up to besiege one after another, but unfortunately they couldn't make a move under Xu Feng's hands. In the blink of an eye, there were women lying on the ground in the main hall, but Xu Feng did not kill them. These women were only slightly injured. The Empress laughed coquettishly. Interesting, you can actually make the Yanlong Palm of Zuanming sect Zhao Shen Yanjin, and it seems that the power you used seems to be stronger than him." When the voice fell to the ground, the curtain suddenly parted, and the Empress flew directly from the throne, attacking Xu Feng. Chapter 60. Xu Feng only felt a huge aura pressing towards him. He was afraid to be careless in his heart. He mobilized all the power of his whole body, and exerted the power of Yanlong Palm to the extreme. The Empress's movement is light and fast, like the light palm of a flying fairy, but anyone who sees this palm can feel the terrifying power contained in it. The palms of the two met. Xu Feng's body shook violently, and he stepped back several steps, only feeling a feminine inner force penetrate the meridians of his body through the palms, and the meridians felt a spasm-like pain. But the Empress was forced to fall from the air after receiving Xu Feng's palm, and took half a step back. With just this move, Xu Feng knew that his skill was still far behind that of the Empress. He didn't wait for the Empress to make another move, and rushed to say, "Empress, if my prediction is correct, you are King Qi." The Empress was amazed by Xu Feng's strength in her heart. She didn't expect such a young boy. His skills were already close to the Great Heaven. If he hadn't been in the Great Heaven for many years, he would have already reached the Great Heaven, and he couldn't easily control it. Stay with this kid. When she heard Xu Feng reveal her real identity, she twitched her mouth and seemed to smile. "Why, is this the secret you said?" Xu Feng looked at the Empress, and saw that the Empress had a bumpy figure, and her clothes were the typical style of Hunan Fang. That faint nobility added to her charm. "Of course not, but if you are indeed King Qi, Empress, you will definitely be interested in the secret I'm going to tell you next." The Empress said coldly, "Don't play tricks. I admit that your strength is beyond my imagination, but you are still close. Watch your tricks." As he said that, he flew up again. His hands were like butterflies wearing flowers, and he slapped more than a dozen palms in a row, and the palm shadows attacked Xu Feng like a blooming lotus. Xu Feng kicked his feet on the ground quickly, retreated quickly, and shouted at the same time, "Aren't you interested in news about Li Tang's descendants?" "What?" The Empress closed her palms in the air and landed on the ground. Her phoenix eyes stared at Xu Feng majestically. Everyone backed down. Following her order, the injured maids and Fan Yinshan supported each other and exited the hall. When there were only the two of them left in the hall, the Empress said, "What are you talking about, descendants of Li Tang? If you dare to lie a little bit, I will never forgive you." Xu Feng said, "Empress, I guarantee that the news is absolutely true, but I have a request. After I tell the news, you must agree to let me go." The Empress sneered and said, "Do you think you are qualified to negotiate terms with me? If you don't say anything, I will take you down. Under the torture, are you afraid that you won't recruit?" Helpless, Xu Feng thought it was true, so he had to say, "Actually, Li Tang's orphan is Li Xingyan." Li Xingyan. That's right, it's him. He is the 10th son of Emperor Zhaozong Li and the only surviving son. He can be said to be the true descendant of the phoenix and dragon. Li Xingyan is actually a descendant of Li Tang. The Empress murmured, as if she still couldn't believe it. "It won't be long before this news spreads all over the world. Now I will tell you, the Empress, one step in advance. You should know its value." The Empress's eyes flickered. She was searching for all the clues in her mind, and finally found that the possibility that Li Xingyan was Li Tang's orphan was really high. She knew what this news meant to the world. She smiled lightly, walked slowly to Xu Feng, stretched out her fingers like jade shoots, and swipe across Xu Feng's face little by little. Yes, this news is indeed very valuable to me, but I still can't let you go now, but I won't kill you either. In the following time, Xu Feng was arranged by the Empress to live in the Huinanfang. Every day, several maids waited on him, and the Empress even sent a maid to sleep with him at night. It's a pity that Xu Feng has already tasted the power of the women in Huinanfang, knowing that they are all roses with thorns, so he naturally refused without hesitation. 4 or 5 days later, the Empress invited him to the hall again. When Xu Feng entered the hall, he found that there were already 2 women waiting there. Seeing him, the Empress smiled and said, "Young Master Xu, I will let you go today. These 2 9-heaven sacred princesses are gifts from me to your highness. Please help me take them to find his highness. Also, please convey to me, just say that King Qi is looking forward to his royal highness coming to Fengxiang, and I am willing to discuss important matters with him. I will definitely bring it." In this way, Xu Feng successfully left Huinanfang, completed the task of the system, and obtained 1,000 system coins. And the 2 beauties bestowed by the Empress to Li Xingyan are Maya Cheng Shengji and Zuanjing Shengji among the 9 heavens Shengji. These 2 women are also peerless beauties. Xu Feng couldn't help admiring the Empress, thinking that with these women in her Huanayan workshop, the Empress could simply defeat others without fighting. He took his 2 daughters with him and went to the Zhangbing Valley in Hongnan Mountain. After a short time, rumors began to circulate in the world that Li Xingyan was a descendant of Li Tang. This news was like throwing a stone on a calm lake, causing all kinds of ripples. No matter if it was the Zuanming sect or the Tongwen Museum, they were caught off guard by the news. Under Xu Feng's reminder, the Empress had already made preparations in advance, and even sent 2 saint princesses to follow him to find Li Xingyan. Walking all the way to inquire, I found that Li Xingyan was going to Yezhou again. Xu Feng took the 2 holy concubines with him, and hurried, and finally found Li Xingyan in an inn in a small town 10 days later. What Xu Feng didn't expect was that Li Xingyan actually followed Ji Ruxu, and the relationship was not normal. Obviously, the plot started to develop in its normal direction. Seeing Xu Feng suddenly, Li Xingyan was taken aback, and finally said slowly, "Why are you here? Didn't I say I don't want to see you again?" Xu Feng was a little embarrassed, but he didn't answer. Glancing out of the corner of his eye, he saw Li Xingyan carrying a broad and huge sword on his back. The scabbard was decorated with primitive simplicity, showing the vicissitudes of life. It was obviously the Longquan sword handed down from the spring and autumn period. No doubt about it. The 2 saint princesses walked out from behind Xu Feng, stepped forward and hugged Li Xingyan's arms from left to right. Li Xingyan was taken aback. His originally serious face instantly returned to his original nature. He smiled and said, "You 2 girls, what are you doing, Brother Xu? You don't mean to use your beauty to seduce me, do you? Am I, Li Xingyan, that kind of person?" Miao Chengshan on the left smiled and said, "Mr. Li, I was sent by the Empress to serve you." Zhuan Jingshan also smiled and said, "The same goes for the slave family." As they spoke, the 2 pressed Li Xingyan on the chair and sat down, then each picked up one of his legs and began to beat his leg. Li Xingyan was flattered and said with a smirk, "You 2 sisters, do you think the Empress asked you to serve me?" Miao Chengshan smiled and said, "Yes, the Empress knew that His Highness is the descendant of a phoenix and a dragon, so she specially sent us to serve His Highness, and she also said that she wanted to invite His Highness to come to Huinanfang as a guest." Li Xingyan said, "The news spread really fast. I just came out of the Kangbing Valley for a few days. Not only did the Zuanming sect know my identity, but even the Empress knew about it so quickly. Ask for a recommendation ticket, ask for a reward, thank you very much. In addition, thanks to book friends by Li Tusu, Wenren Zuanshan, Ye Xiner, Jianjak, Chudaksha In, and dried radish sauce for their rewards." Chapter 61 The Final Battle. Ji Ruxu on the side was very surprised when she saw Xu Feng, and her face changed even more when she saw Miao Chengshan and Zhuan Jingshan. She didn't know why these 2 people appeared. Seeing the 2 girls getting so close to Li Xingyan at this moment, jealousy surged in his heart, and he stepped forward and said, "How did you come here? Could it be that the Empress really asked you to come?" "Of course, the Empress knew about Mr. Li's identity and sent me to serve Mr. Li." Ji Ruxu said with a grim expression, "I will take care of Li Xingyan, you go back." Miao Chengshan snorted and said, "You are just a maidservant of the Empress? And you dare to talk to our 9 Heaven Saint princess like this? If it wasn't for Mr. Li's face, I would want you to look good. Zhuan Jingshan also said, that's right, besides, you are not enough alone. Mr. Li is the son of a phoenix and the grandson of a dragon, so of course you need more women to serve you. Li Zingyan touched his head and smiled, haha, of course, my Li Zingyan's women are Han Xin's soldiers, the more the better. Yet, as the saying goes, those who can do more work, Mr. Li is so brave, of course he needs more women. Miao Chengshin said, leaning her whole body on Li Zingyan's lap, like a docile kitten. Ji Ruxu's face was white with anger. She swept her eyes and exclaimed, why is that kid missing? Li Zingyan also turned his head when he heard the words, and found that Xu Feng was nowhere to be seen. When Li Zingyan was talking to the girls, Xu Feng left quietly, but he didn't go far. Instead, he found another inn in the town to stay. When he saw the Longquan sword behind Li Zingyan, he knew that he was not far from accomplishing his goal. The Longquan sword has appeared in front of my eyes, and now I have to consider how to find the treasure of Longquan after getting the Longquan sword. It is obviously impossible to find it by himself. Recalling the relevant plot in the animation in his mind, he knows that the key person to find the Longquan treasure is Wen Tao, the Saint Thief. Wen Tao is a lieutenant of Majin, and his force value is not high, but he is best at the 5 elements, gossip, and geomantic positioning. Longquan sword. But Wen Tao's whereabouts are also difficult to figure out. Xu Feng's plan is to follow Li Zingyan quietly first. According to the plot, Li Zingyan will catch Wen Tao, and then he can successfully get Wen Tao and get the Longquan sword by the way. Period. So in the following days, Xu Feng secretly followed Li Zingyan and his party. The last time Li Zingyan's brothers and sisters returned to Jianlu, they were ambushed by the Zuanming sect. Li Zingyan fought against the 5 Yan lords. In the end, both brothers and sisters were seriously injured. Li Zingyan was gone, and Zhang Zifen rescued Lu Lingxun. Afterwards, Shangwen Yongke and Uncle Yang intercepted Ji Ruxu and brought her and Li Zingyan to the Kangbing Valley. After some twists and turns, Li Zingyan solved the mystery of his life experience and got the Longquan sword. At this moment, Li Zingyan's plan was to go to the Tongwen Museum to rescue his junior sister, and he took the 3 girls to the Tongwen Museum. But on the way there, he ran into Lu Lingxun. It turned out that after Zhang Zifen rescued Lu Lingxun in the sword hut, he healed her injuries and accompanied her to look for Li Zingyan everywhere. The 2 senior brothers and sisters were naturally very happy to meet each other, and then Li Zingyan led a group of people back to Yazhou City. It was obvious that they were going to seek revenge from the 5 lords of hell. When they arrived outside the city of Yazhou, Li Zingyan and his party were ambushed by the Zuanming sect, who had received the news in advance. The black congregation rushed out and surrounded Li Zingyan and everyone in the middle. There was a gap in it, and 6 people walked out. It was the 5 great Yamas plus the thief Saint Wen Tao. Of course Black and White Impermanence was dead. Although Zhao Shen Yanjun received Xu Feng's palm, he did not die at that time. After this period of cultivation, he has recovered. Yanjun, the eldest of the 5 Yan lords, said, Li Zingyan, the Zuanming sect, are looking for you all over the world. I didn't expect you to come from a trap. Li Zingyan laughed, you are looking for me, and I am not here to look for you. In the Battle of Jianlu, my junior sister and I were seriously injured by you. In the end, the master died to treat my wounds. I am now paying this debt. I'm going to ask you to get it back. At the moment Li Zingyan has Ji Ruxu, Miao Chengshan, Zhuan Jingshan, Lu Lingxun, and Zhang Zifen in total. Among them, Ji Ruxu and Lu Lingxun are middle stars, and Miao Chengshan and Zhuan Jingshan are big stars position. Zhang Zifen and Li Zingyan's strength is a small position. And Zhuan Ming sect's 5 Yan lords are all of the strength of the big stars, among which the eldest benevolent sage Yanjun Zhang Renji is already close to the small sky, and Wen Tao is also a master of the big stars. Zhang Renji knew that he had to go all out to take down the person in front of him, and he didn't talk nonsense, so he directly ordered, everyone go up together, don't let anyone go. So the 2 groups fought fiercely, and the 2 sides were evenly matched in strength. On a tree in the distance, Xu Feng was hiding among the leaves, closely watching the changes on the field. His eyes lingered between Li Zingyan's Longquan sword and Wen Tao, and he made up his mind to wait until both sides suffered a loss before making a move. On the field, Ren Sheng Yanjun and his 3 younger brothers dealt with Li Zingyan and Zhang Zifen together, while the remaining Zhao Sheng Yanjun and Wen Tao dealt with the 2 9 Heaven Saint Ji, Ji Ruxu and Lu Lingxun were besieged by ordinary congregants. The battle situation was stalemate for a while, and the two sides were almost evenly matched, but as the fighting time prolonged, those ordinary congregants were gradually wiped out, and then Ji Ruxu and Lu Lingxun joined in to help Li Xingayan and Zhang Zifen. The four of them fought against the four lords of Yan. In this way, the four lords of Yan were obviously out of support, and danger began to appear everywhere. Seeing that he was about to be defeated, the benevolent sage Yanjun gritted his teeth and used that trick again. He asked the other four younger brothers to pass on all the internal energy of his body to him, and in an instant he had the strength of the peak of the little heaven. Li Xingayan was defeated by this tactic in the first battle of Jianhut. The internal power of the five Yanjun combined, and the power increased greatly. Both Ji Ruxu and Lu Lingxun were injured by a palm, and they couldn't get up on the ground. And Zhang Zifen and Li Xingayan were also injured, and Miao Chengshan came to reinforce them. After a great battle, the three of them finally withstood the attack of Ren Shen Yanjun. The temporary gathering of the internal energy of the four younger brothers by the benevolent sage Yanjun could not last long. After a while, the internal energy was exhausted and he was defeated. The other four Yanjun had already lost their internal energy, so naturally they had no choice but to fight. Wen Tao was the only one left to fight against Zhuan Jingshan. Seeing that his side was over, he was about to run away, but unfortunately he was stopped by Li Xingayan, who was wounded on the ground with several palms. At the end of the battle, the six of Li Xingayan also won miserably. Everyone was seriously injured, and they were all out of strength. Looking at the five kings of Hades who were lying on the ground and had no power to move, Li Xingayan drew out the long Quan sword with a bang, and said to Lu Lingxun, "Junior sister, let's avenge Master and his old man today." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Capture the Long Quan Sword. Lu Lingxun drew out her broken sword in response, and the two held the sword and walked step by step towards the five great Yan lords who were lying on the ground and howling. Xiao Sheng Yanjun clutched his chest, with blood on the corner of his mouth, and said ferociously, "Kill your uncle. If you blink, you will not be a good man. Lord Underworld will definitely avenge our brothers." Li Xingayan was still hesitant at first, but recalled the scene of Master's tragic death in his mind. He stabbed out with a sword, and Xiao Shen Yanjun died of anger. Lu Lingxun also stabbed her broken sword with a ferocious expression. Although she was facing an enemy, it was still painful when she really wanted to end a person's life. She really hoped that there would be no more vendettas in the world. The five Yan lords died one after another, and they really went to the underworld to meet the king of Hades. After killing the two senior brothers and sisters, their feet were weak. Ji Ruxu and Zhang Zifen hurried up to support them respectively. Ji Ruxu said worriedly, "Xingayan, are you okay?" Li Xingayan shook his head, stood up straight, looked at the corpses of the five great lords, and said in a low voice, "I only now understand the deep meaning of the master. At that time, he only taught my younger sister martial arts, but only let me learn medical skills. I thought it was him. Partial, I have always been angry." He looked up at the sky and sighed, "But now I know that master really loves me and doesn't want me to be involved in this dangerous arena because of martial arts, but now master, his old man has already." His voice was choked with tears. Ji Ruxu comforted, "Xingayan, don't be too sad." Li Xingayan wiped away tears, and suddenly smiled, "But it shouldn't be too late now. Yuan Xiangang still wants to encourage me to become emperor and restore the Tang dynasty. Haha, don't say that. I don't want to be emperor in the first place, even for the sake of this world. Killing, I will not be that bullshit emperor." As he said that, he hugged Ji Ruxu into his arms, and said, "Zuir, now that I have avenged my master, I want to retire from the world. Will you come with me? Let's find a place to open at the medical center. With my medical skills, I will guarantee you no worries about food and drink." As soon as he said this, the others were shocked, and the two Nine Heavens Saint Princesses said, "Young Master Li, we are going to." Lu Lingxun had been listening, and at this moment he also said, "Brother, you can't leave me behind." Li Xingayan laughed and said, "Then let's all be together, and then we won't be lonely." Lu Lingxun was also tired of the vendettas in the Jianghu. Hearing that senior brother said that going back to seclusion was just what she wanted, She pointed to Wen Tao, who was on the ground beside her, and said, "Senior brother, how should we deal with this person?" Seeing that they finally talked about him, Wen Tao hurriedly said, "Don't kill me, Your Highness, I'm a bad person." But at this moment, a person suddenly fell from the sky and stood in front of Wen Tao. Everyone in Li Xingyan was shocked when they saw this sudden appearance. Li Xingyan said, "Brother Su." Ji Ruxu said, "Why are you?" Lu Lingxuan said, "Brother Su? Why are you here?" The two Nine Heaven Saint Princesses also said, "Young Master Su." Xu Feng smiled slightly. These 6 people knew him at different times, and now they are finally going to settle together. "Brother Li, Lin Zhuan, I heard your conversation just now. Brother Li, you can give up the throne and retire from the world. I really admire you." Lu Lingxuan said excitedly, "Brother Su, do you want to come with us?" Zhang Zifen beside him saw that she was so enthusiastic about Xu Feng, and his expression was not good. Xu Feng smiled wryly and said, "Lin Zhuan, if I'm really from this world, I'd be really happy to retire with you friends, but..." Shaking his head, knowing in his heart that this was impossible, he looked at Li Xingyan again and said, "Brother Li, I have a heartless request today." Li Xingyan remembered that Xu Feng had saved his own life, and had also helped his brothers and sisters kill Black and White Wu Chang. In fact, he already regretted the last time he forced Xu Feng away. Hearing that Xu Feng didn't want to go into seclusion with his group of people at this moment, he felt a little lost. He heard that he had a request, so he said, "Brother Su, if you have any request, just say it, as long as I, Li Xingyan, can do it, I will definitely agree to it." You. Hearing what he said, Xu Feng felt ashamed. In fact, he felt a little sorry for his friend, but he really had to get the Longquan treasure. "Brother Li, thank you for your kindness, but this request will make you very embarrassed, because I want to borrow yours." He stared at Li Xingyan's eyes, and said word by word, "Dragon, spring, sword." Before Li Xingyan said anything, Lu Lingxuan said anxiously, "Brother Su, this is not true, you are joking with senior brother, right?" Xu Feng shook his head, "Lin Zhuan, I'm not joking, and I won't hide the matter from you now. I approached you and your senior brother for the Longquan sword from the very beginning. Since I can't be friends, let me be sincere to you." Lu Lingxuan's eyes were red. He stepped back and said, "It's not true, it's not, really." Li Xingyan didn't speak all the time. He raised his eyes at this moment, his eyes were full of sadness, and finally burst out laughing, "Brother Su, thank you for being honest, you want Longquan, okay, I said as long as I can do it, yes, I promise you, Longquan will give it to you." As he spoke, he took the Longquan sword from behind and threw it towards Xu Feng. Zhang Zifen and the two Nine Heaven Sacred Princesses next to him all exclaimed no. They followed Li Xingyan, so they didn't have the idea of using the Longquan sword, and now Li Xingyan actually gave it away just like that. Zhang Zifen made a direct move, trying to snatch the Longquan sword from the air. Xu Feng didn't expect that Li Xingyan would really give him the Longquan sword, but seeing that Zhang Zifen was about to snatch it, he also stood up, came first, took the Longquan sword, and at the same time faced Zhang Zifen. After Zhang Zifen received his palm, he vomited blood and fell to the ground far away. The two Nine Heaven Saints said, "Young Master Li, you can't give him the sword." Li Xingyan sneered, "Don't say any more, do you think I don't know what the Empress sent you to be by my side? And Zhang Zifen, what's the difference between each of you, since I've made up my mind not to fight for the world, Longquan sword, what's the matter if I give it to Brother Su?" The two seemed to want to say something, but Li Xingyan seemed disheartened, and said to Xu Feng, who was holding the sword, "Brother Su, you saved my life back then, and you helped my junior sister avenge the murder of my father. No matter what your purpose, these kindnesses are facts. Now that Longquan sword is given to you, even if I repay your kindness, we will have nothing to do with each other from now on." Xu Feng sighed in his heart, knowing that he was the one who was sorry for his friend after all. Although this was a different world, was it right for him to do this for the treasure of Longquan? Will one day regret what I did today? Ask for a recommendation ticket. It would be better to give a reward. Cap. Thanks also to Maxmx, Huatsai, and Jianje for their tipping. Chapter 63, The Blood of the Emperor Jianfen. But at least for now, there is no way out. Xu Feng feels the Longquan sword in his hand, which is very textured and heavy, and it really does not seem like an ordinary thing. My mind turned, and I thought that it was too unsafe to hold the sword in my hand. Anyway, after finding the treasure in the end, I had to open the portable space, so why not open it in advance? He summoned the system in his mind, and checked the character interface first. Name, Xu Feng, sex, male, age 20, grade, late acquired experience 879/10000 system coin 3040 skills, Zixa divine art 100%, Yanlong palm 100%, unlock app, WeChat, Kidian reading, Xiaomi video. After completing the Queen's mission last time, I was rewarded with 1000 system coins, and there are a total of 3040 system coins. Opened the system wall and bought it without hesitation at 2000 system coins. With a sound of ding, a system notification sounded. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a cubic meter of portable space. Immediately there was an additional item on the character interface, showing that he had a cubic meter of portable space. He asked the system in his mind, Sister System, how do I use this portable space? System, mind control. As long as you meditate on the object you want to move in your mind, you can move the item to the portable space, or move the item from the portable space to the outside. There is another question, can some special things be kept fresh in space? For example, food, or some treasures of heaven and earth. System, yes, in the portable space, time is static, and the characteristics of the item will stay at the moment it is put in. Great, haha. Next, Xu Feng followed the system prompts, meditated on the Longquan sword in his mind, and then gave the command to move. Sure enough, the Longquan sword disappeared in his hand out of thin air. While Li Xingyan and the others were about to leave, they saw the Longquan sword disappearing from Xu Feng's hand, and each of them opened their mouths in surprise. Lu Lingxun rubbed his eyes, and said in a low voice, Brother, is it my eyesight? The Longquan sword seems to be missing. You're not mistaken, it has indeed disappeared. But thinking that the sword had been given away, he couldn't care less, turned around and wanted to leave. Xu Feng suddenly said, Brother Li, please stay, I have to lend you something. Li Xingyan stopped when he heard the words, but he didn't turn around, he just said, I said we have settled the relationship, aren't you satisfied? Xu Feng sighed and said, I can't help it. I have to borrow this thing. Brother Li, be careful. After saying that, he rushed towards Li Xingyan. On the way, the Longquan sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Li Xingyan felt the wind behind him, startled, and quickly dodged. Seeing Xu Feng attacking Li Xingyan suddenly, as if he wanted to kill him, the others were shocked and came up to help. It's a pity that Xu Feng's strength is already close to that of the Great Heaven, and Li Xingyan's side is not his opponent even though there are many people. After a scuffle, Lu Lingxun, Ji Ruxu and Zhang Zifan all fell to the ground and lost their mobility. Only Li Xingyan is still struggling to support. Xu Feng didn't hold back his hand, and struck with his sword. Li Xingyan had no weapon and was in an absolute weak position, so he had no choice but to avoid it. Xu Feng had already expected his evasion direction, so he turned his sword and slashed at his arm. Lu Lingxun and Ji Ruxu, who were lying on the ground, exclaimed in unison, no. The strike was so urgent that Li Xingyan couldn't dodge it anymore, he sighed and closed his eyes to wait for death. The imaginable moment did not come. Li Xingyan felt a slight pain in his arm. He opened his eyes and looked at his right hand, only to see that his arm was cut by the sword. And Xu Feng had already retracted his sword, took out a small porcelain bottle, and held the blade upside down. A drop of blood flowed from the Longquan sword, and dripped into the bottle with a pop. Put away the small porcelain bottle, put the stopper on it, put the Longquan sword back into its sheath, and with a thought, both the porcelain bottle and the Longquan sword disappeared in his hand. Li Xingyan was completely confused by Xu Feng's series of actions. At this moment, he saw something disappearing in front of his eyes again, and finally couldn't help asking, who are you? Xu Feng smiled, I said before, I am not from this world. After speaking, he turned around, lifted Wen Tao from the ground on one side, and left. Li Xingyan and the others watched Xu Feng go away, while Lu Lingxun stared at him obsessively. Brother, I feel like we will never see him again. Xu Feng took Wen Tao to a small town and sold 2 horses. Along the way, he told Wen Tao that his purpose was to find the Longquan treasure. After seeing Xu Feng's martial arts, Wen Tao knew that he was far from being an opponent, and his favorite thing in life was tomb robbery. Of course, he had been curious about the treasures of Longquan for a long time. Now that he had such a good opportunity, he agreed without thinking too much. So in the following days, Xu Feng followed Wen Tao, searching for the whereabouts of the Longquan treasure. that Wen Tao really has some skills. He has a special compass in his hand, and by cooperating with his exercises, he can sense the breath of some dead people and ancient tombs. With the help of the Longquan sword and the guidance of the compass, the two trekked day and night and traveled many places. Sometimes there will be mistakes and start over. Sometimes Wen Tao will stand on the top of the mountain again, relying on his 5-element feng shui technique to watch the direction of the earth's veins. Xu Feng looked at his tricks from the side, and felt that he was worthy of being Captain Majin. This tomb robber was really skilled. Just walking around and searching like this, time passed day by day. Finally, the hard work paid off, and after half a year, the two successfully found the treasure of Longquan. The Longquan treasure turned out to be the tomb of Li Chunfeng, another great magician at the founding of the Tang dynasty. The tomb of Li Chunfeng is unremarkable on the surface, and there is nothing special about it. But after Xu Feng followed Wen Tao into the tomb, he found that there was another world inside. After passing through a secret door, the underground turned out to be a huge underground palace. Wen Tao is worthy of being a professional tomb robber. Although there are many traps in the tomb passage, he easily deciphered them all. Xu Feng felt that he had found the right person, and couldn't help asking curiously, "Wen Tao, who did you learn your tomb robbery from?" Holding a torch, Wen Tao was carefully inspecting a mechanism. He heard the words, "Back to Mr. Su, there is a family of captains who robbed the tomb and touched the gold. There has always been a secret inheritance. I'm afraid you have never heard of the name of the family teacher, Mr. Su. Oh, that's it, it's okay, I'm just asking casually." In the dark tomb passage, the two walked cautiously for 3 or 4 hours, and finally came to the real tomb without any danger. In front of you is a huge bronze door more than 10 feet high. Looking at such a huge door, Xu Feng thought that if there is no key in this era, it is really impossible to get in by brute force. Wen Tao was shocked by the bronze door for a while, and then started to work. Not long after, he said in surprise, "I found it, the keyhole." Chapter 64 Unlocking the Treasure. Hearing this, Xu Feng walked over to take a look, and saw a hole in the middle of the bronze gate, about one person's height. Holding the torch, Wen Tao stroked the hole and said, "If I'm right, the Longquan sword is the key." With a thought of Xu Feng, the Longquan sword appeared in his hand directly from the portable space. He walked over and pointed the Longquan sword at the hole, and inserted it in. It really fits perfectly. With the Longquan sword fully inserted, the bronze door trembled violently, making a buzzing sound, shaking off a lot of dust on the top of the tomb. But after trembling for a while, the bronze door regained its calm, and the door did not open. Wen Tao was surprised and said, "How could it be? Why can't the Longquan sword open this Longquan treasure?" Xu Feng had already expected this, and slowly pulled out the Longquan sword from the hole, stroked the sword body, and said, "Because the Longquan treasure can only be opened by the descendants of Li Tang, others will get the Longquan sword. It's no use either. I seem to have heard this rumor before." Wen Tao stroked his chin and thought for a while. "According to my many years of experience in tomb robbery, if it is true that the descendants of Li and Tang can't open it, then there is only one possibility, that is, the door on the bronze door, engraved with a magic circle that can identify the power of blood." He frowned and continued, "Then to open the treasure, you must have the Longquan sword and the Emperor's blood, but the only thing left for Li Tang's descendants is Li Xingyan. Isn't it just a waste of our work?" Xu Feng smiled slightly, did not answer, but with a thought, a small porcelain bottle appeared in his hand, which was the blood he had collected when he parted with Li Xingyan. Wen Tao's eyes widened in surprise. He also saw Xu Feng taking blood at that time, but he didn't understand Xu Feng's intention at all at the time. Now it seems that he already knew that the Emperor's blood is needed to open the treasure. He couldn't help but another layer of fear towards Xu Feng. Xu Feng opened the cork, and due to the characteristics of the portable space, the blood did not coagulate. Pour the mouth of the bottle and drip the blood onto the sword body, and then insert a Longquan sword into the hole again. As the sword body is completely submerged, the bronze gate is still completely calm at first. As a result, Xu Feng was at a loss in his mind. He wondered if there was too little blood. But after a while, the entire bronze door began to vibrate more violently than before, and with the vibration, a dazzling blue light bloomed on the door. Both Xu Feng and Wen Tao couldn't open their eyes because of this brilliance. When they could see clearly, it was already a completely different world. The bronze door opened, revealing a resplendent and magnificent hall inside. With curiosity and excitement, the two walked in slowly. The hall is huge and luxuriously decorated. There are huge candlesticks at the four corners, which are automatically lit at this moment, illuminating the hall brightly. And right in the middle of the main hall, there are a bunch of boxes stacked up. Seeing them, Xu Feng finally felt a little excited. What he was looking for was finally in front of him. Wen Tao, there won't be organs in this hall, right? Wen Tao was also shocked by the scene in front of him. Hearing the words, he came back to his senses and said, probably not. After all, the descendants of Li and Tang must be the ones who can open this door. There is no need to set up an ambush. Then are we descendants of Li Tang? This, haha. Isn't this Mr. Su? You are too powerful. Okay, stop talking nonsense, you go ahead. Wen Tao had no choice but to walk towards the center of the hall step by step, but no mechanism was triggered, so Xu Feng stepped into the hall. He casually opened a box next to him, only to see that there were neatly stacked gold ingots inside, and the golden brilliance made his eyes hurt. Wen Tao couldn't help it either, and opened the boxes one by one, only to see that some of the boxes were neatly filled with gold and silver ingots. Then in some other boxes, there are arrows, gun heads, knives, swords and other weapons neatly stacked. Looking at these things, Xu Feng knew that the Longquan treasure should really be prepared for the restoration of the country by the descendants of Li and Tang, as rumored. The gold and silver were military expenses, and these weapons could definitely equip an army quickly. Just looking at these, Xu Feng still has a doubt in his heart. Why is the bad handsome Yuan Xiangang always trying to encourage Li Xingyan to open the Longquan treasure in the painting world? If there were only these ordinary gold and silver treasures and weapons in it, would it be so attractive to him, a person who is already able to live forever? Thinking of this, Xu Feng knew that there should be other things hidden in this treasure, and it was something that could arouse the interest of an old monster like Yuan Xiangang. So he turned his eyes away from the gold and silver treasures, and began to look at the whole hall, only to see that there were no other doors around the hall, and it seemed that there was no side hall, but there was a dragon chair in the middle of the hall. The layout of the entire hall is typically designed according to the hall in the Imperial Palace. Unfortunately, what's the use of putting a dragon chair in this dark underground? That Wen Tao was obviously not interested in gold and silver, he was beating around the hall, as if he was looking for something. Xu Feng was curious about the hidden secrets in his heart, but he knew that his main purpose of entering the Longquan treasure was still for money. Gold and silver, as things that are used in ancient and modern times, are of course the best wealth. But if an ordinary person came here, even if he looked at these mountains of gold and silver, he would not be able to move much, because it was too heavy. But Xu Feng had a portable space, so he didn't have this concern. He directly controlled a box of gold with his mind, and then the box disappeared into the hall out of thin air and entered his portable space. With such a good opportunity, Xu Feng is of course the more the better, and boxes of gold were moved to his portable space. In the end, only 1/10 of the space is left for other uses. After getting the money, he looked at other things, and there was nothing of value. I just saw the dragon chair on the main hall, and thought that I had only seen this thing in movies and TV dramas, and now the real thing is in front of my eyes, why not experience it? Walking closer, he said it was a chair, but it was more suitable to call it a bed. He stroked the back of the chair, and the golden dragon carved on it was lifelike. Xu Feng sat in the middle of the chair, but he also felt that it was nothing more than that. It's not even as comfortable as an ordinary chair. After all, this chair is too big to hold the handles on both sides, and the back cannot lean against the back of the chair. Sitting in such a chair is a physical torture. So many people want to grab the seat, but who knows what it's like to actually sit on it. Shaking his head, Xu Feng was about to get up, but at this moment, a piece in the middle of the chair was suddenly sunken, revealing a hidden compartment. Xu Feng's eyes lit up, and he thought that there is a way. Could it be that what is hidden here is what the bad handsome Yuan Xiangang wants to get? Chapter 65. Looking into the dark compartment, I saw a thin book wrapped in yellow brocade. What is this? Is it some kind of martial arts secret book? Curiously, Xu Feng took out the book from the secret compartment, and then opened the brocade wrapped outside, only to see the 3 characters Tuibei 2 written on the cover of the book. Tuibei map? Is the Tuibei map hidden so tightly? Reluctantly, he looked into the secret compartment again, but the secret compartment was very small. After taking out the book, it was clear at a glance that there was nothing in it. It shouldn't be, so what's the use for Yuan Xiangang to get this pushback picture? Xu Feng was interested in studying Tuibei 2. It is known as one of the divine books of prophecy in ancient China. According to legend, it was written by Xu Feng, a warlock during the Tang Taizong period. Chinese history. The treasure of Longquan is under the tomb of Xu Feng. It is understandable to find Taobao 2 here, but what Xu Feng can't figure out is why he hides this book so secretly. Could it be that it is what Yuan Xiangang is looking for? Question mark. But before Xu Feng read the book, the whole underground palace suddenly started shaking, as if a violent earthquake had occurred. Surprised, he quickly stood up from the dragon chair, only to see that the main hall had already started to collapse, and many earth, rocks and logs began to fall down one after another. Before he understood what was going on, he saw that Wen Tao ran out from a corner of the hall, rushed towards the bronze door, turned his head and shouted at Xu Feng while running, "Hurry up, this place is about to collapse." Xu Feng did not take any action, and cursed, "Damn, did you move something, or else the tomb would suddenly collapse? Forget it, I wanted to explore for a while, but now I have no chance, so I have to go home." Thinking about it, Xu Feng called out painting bad people in Jianghu from his mind, and then pressed the exit button. In this underground space, Xu Feng disappeared out of thin air. In the process of running away, Wen Tao didn't see Xu Feng following up, turned around to look, but found that Xu Feng was no longer in the hall. But as soon as he stepped out of the bronze door, the entire hall collapsed, and everything inside was buried. Wen Tao didn't know if his last glance was an illusion. Was that person buried, or did he really disappear? In Xiaoyong community, in room 4 of building 23, the space fluctuated, and Xu Feng's figure appeared in the living room. Looking at the familiar environment in front of him, Xu Feng let out a long sigh of relief, finally ending this long trip to another world. He stretched himself, and the first thing he did was to go into the bathroom and take a shower. After taking a shower, I changed into modern clothes, took a leisurely trip to the sofa in the living room, and then picked up the remote control to turn on the TV. The time displayed on the TV was already August 8th. It seems that more than a month has passed. This should be the longest time I have spent in a different world, but this time it is also rewarding. Thinking that he hadn't come to read the Taobao 2 at the last moment, so with a thought, a thread-bound book appeared in his hand. With a hint of curiosity, I opened Taobao 2, only to find that the beginning of the book is an article similar to autobiography. Xu Feng's ancient prose skills are very good, and he quickly read the entire article before he understood what the whole thing was about. It turns out that in Tang Taizong's later years, there were mysterious rumors in the society. After Tang III, the heroine King Wu will rule the world. It was night, and the Taishi's secret Zhuan ordered Xu Feng to enter the palace. Xu Feng watched the sky at night and found that there was Taobao Junction, which meant that the heroine was rising. Taizong wanted to kill all the suspects. Xu Feng said, "It is the fate of the heavens that the king will not die. If your majesty kills her by force, you can only catch some innocent people. And even if your majesty kills her by chance, God will regenerate a more vicious person. People, at that time, none of the descendants of the Li surname will be spared." Tang Taizong could only give up with a sigh, and asked who might be the author of this rumor. Xu Feng said, "Your majesty already has the answer in his heart." Taizong knew that this person was Yuan Xiangang, so he asked him what the purpose of doing this was. Xu Feng pointed out that the heroine is still young, and this person may conspire to replace her, but the heroine will return to power with Li's descendants after 100 years. If this person dominates, the Tang dynasty will perish. Taizong thought that Yuan Xiangang had taken the elixir, and his skills were unfathomable. If he died, bad people would indeed rebel, so he asked Xu Feng what countermeasures he had. Xu Feng offered 3 strategies. One is to let Zhuan Woman General Li Junxin lead the Zhuan Woman Strong Guards to pretend to be rebellious, and then send bad people to rehabilitate, so that Yuan Xiangang's wings can be cut off. Then let Taizong kill Li Junxin for the crime of treason, because everyone in the army knew that Li Junxin's nickname was Lady Wu. This not only temporarily eliminated the prophecy, but also greatly damaged Yuan Xiangang's strength. Second, Xu Feng asked himself to calculate the fate of the Tang dynasty in order to suppress Yuan Xianggang's desire for rebellion. Third, it is suggested that Emperor Taizong build the Longquan treasure house in case of emergencies, and Xu Feng asked himself to study the martial arts methods against Yuan Xianggang. 1 month later, everything went according to plan. Li Junxin pretended to rebel, and after killing all the bad guys, he pretended to be defeated and was killed. Emperor Taizong summoned Li Chunfeng and Yuan Xiangang to calculate the fate of the Tang dynasty. Li Chunfeng released the fortune for 2,000 into Tuibei 2 in one go. Yuan Xiangang was shocked and lost his intention of rebellion. After Taizong passed away a few years later, Li Chunfeng retreated into the world and secretly researched ways to deal with Yuan Xiangang. Finally, he found that Yuan Xiangang's martial arts had reached its peak and it was impossible to defeat him. But he knew what Yuan Xiangang wanted most. After swallowing the flawed elixir, Yuan Xiangang became neither human nor ghost. What he wanted most was to restore his normal appearance. So Li Chunfeng fabricated a rumor that there is an elixir in the Longquan treasure that can eliminate the side effects of the elixir of life. After reading the whole article, Xu Feng felt it was ridiculous. That is to say, there were only gold, silver treasures and weapons in the Longquan treasure, and everything else was fake. It seems that this Li Chunfeng is not a good bird. Yuan Xiangang has been miserably deceived by his false rumors. Sighed, but thought that he had already left the world of painting rivers and lakes, and his goal had been achieved, so he didn't think much about other things. Except for the first article, the text is at the back of the book. There are a total of 2,000 pictures, predicting things in the year. Xu Feng looked through it with interest. He took the original version, and couldn't help but wonder if the prophecies in the book were correct. So I compared the prophecies in it with the major historical events that had happened, and found that they were actually completely consistent. It seems that Li Chunfeng really has some tricks. Let me see, since the predictions of the past are correct, then, what about the future predictions? After flipping through for a while, Xu Feng found that the fourth picture of number 40 was talking about what is happening now, so the fifth picture of number 40 is what will happen next? I saw that number 45 pictures wrote, Washenkin went down and up, and the prophecy said, there is a Jethsi, and it ends at the east. Wood, fire and gold and water wash away this great shame song said, Yan Yun Huang opens the world together, while the golden crow hides in the white ocean. From now on, I dare not be the leader, and the military spirit is all sold out. The meaning of the text was too obscure, and he couldn't understand it for a while, so Xu Feng lost interest, put away the pushback picture, and went to bed. Chapter 66. After sleeping until the next day, the dream was extremely solid, and there were no more intrigues and vendettas. Xu Feng looked at the time. It was almost noon, and his stomach growled, but he didn't want to go out to eat alone, so he ordered a takeaway. Hey, I don't have a lot of money now. I still can only eat takeaway every day. It doesn't feel right. Thinking of the house I rented, with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room, and a kitchen, I should be able to buy ingredients and cook for myself. So after eating the takeaway, Xu Feng went out to the nearby supermarket for shopping. But Xu Feng came to his senses after looking at the dazzling array of ingredients in the supermarket. Forget it, I don't know how to cook at all, it's a waste to buy these things back, Alice. So he picked and chose, and went away with high spirits. In the end, Xu Feng only bought a lot of noodles and a few caddies of eggs. He thought that he would not do anything else. He could try the simplest way of making noodles and keep them at home. Can be emergency. On the way home, the phone in his pocket suddenly vibrated, and as soon as it was connected, a long-lost voice came out from the phone. Hello? Xu Feng. It's me. Why did you call me so coincidentally? HMPH, I thought you deleted me or blacklisted me. I have called you several times during this period but no one answered. How come? Haha. Well, I want to see you. Are you home? Yes, you know the address. After hanging up the phone, he was almost home. He thought this was the first time a girl came to his kennel, so he had to clean it up first. It's just because of the phone call that Xu Feng didn't notice that there was a sneaky person in the distance who seemed to be following him, and he left after seeing him enter the 4th building with his own eyes. Open the house, put the noodles and eggs in the refrigerator, then take some dirty clothes in the living room to the room and hide them, and clean the floor. Xu Feng worked for more than an hour, and finally changed the living room, and the doorbell rang soon after. Wiping the sweat off her face, she hurried forward to open the door. After the door opened, she saw Tang Shining standing at the door delicately. She was wearing a pink t-shirt with Hello Kitty printed on it, shorts on her lower body, her hair was tied into a ball head, and she had a little makeup on her face, making her eyes bigger. She was full of cute and girlish style. Xu Feng was stunned. Tang Shining pouted curtly and said, "Why, are you going to keep me outside the door?" After waking up, He shook his head in embarrassment. Of course not, please come in. Tang Shining passed Xu Feng, walked into the room, looked at the tidy living room, and kept nodding. Yes, yes, it's so clean. Do you have a cleanliness, Xu Feng? After closing the door, Xu Feng walked in. I don't have a cleanliness. Didn't you ask me to clean this? Tang Shining walked over and sat down on the sofa. Actually, it's unnecessary. My room is also very messy. Xu Feng walked over and touched his chin and said, your body makes you look like a high school student. Who would have thought that you are an old school girl who has graduated from university? Haha. Tang Shining's face darkened. Xu Feng, can you speak? Am I very old? Haha, you're not old. Didn't I praise you for being young? He took a bottle of water from the refrigerator and handed it to her. What are you doing during summer vacation? When does graduate school start? Tang Shining took a sip and complained, don't mention it. I've been working on projects with my mentor in July, and I'm being exploited as free labor. I just finished it yesterday, but I'm going to start another project next week on. After chatting for a while, Tang Shining asked Xu Feng what he was doing these days and whether he was looking for a job. I didn't find a job. I don't have to work for others now. Do you believe it? Tang Shining opened her beautiful eyes and said, I believe, Xu Feng, you can always surprise people. Thank you, haha, I'm embarrassed to say that. Next, Tang Shining visited other places in the house, and then said to Xu Feng, you don't have to worry about me. If you have something to do, just do it. I'll watch TV for a while. Xu Feng scratched his head and said, okay then, I'll check something online. So for the next time, Tang Shining really watched the soap opera in the living room, and giggled from time to time. And Xu Feng turned on the computer and began to look up things related to gold trading. Because he suddenly thought that he had brought back so much gold from the painting rivers and lakes, how would he get rid of the gold? After this investigation, he was a little dumbfounded. It turns out that in modern China, it is difficult to buy and sell gold. Generally, gold shops and banks only recycle the gold they sell, and they need invoices for recycling. Ordinary people suddenly own a lot of gold. If they are discovered, they will most likely be invited to drink tea, and even the gold will be handed over to the country in the end. Finally, I searched all afternoon and found that the best way to sell it is to get some pawn shops to sell, but the price will be much lower than the market price, and another is to sell in the black market, but the information on the black market is only for insiders to understand. Xu Feng knew in his heart that it might be a little difficult to get rid of the gold in his hands, so he could only make plans later to see the situation. Time passed quickly, and the afternoon passed without knowing it. Xu Feng turned off the computer, and said to Tang Shining, who was watching TV in the living room, it's already night, let's go, how about I invite you to dinner? Tang Shining was watching happily, and said, no need, going out to eat is too expensive, I don't want you to lose money. Scratching his head, Xu Feng said awkwardly, okay, then shall we order takeaway? Turning off the TV, she stood up and said, eating takeaway is too unhealthy. I see you have a kitchen here. Is there anything in the refrigerator? As he said that, he went forward and opened the refrigerator, and what lay in it were the noodles and eggs that Xu Feng bought in the afternoon. You have noodles? She turned to Xu Feng and said, don't order takeaway, I'll eat it for you next time. Hearing these words, Xu Feng's mind was struck by lightning, and his whole body trembled. It's not good for you to eat it from me, after all, we still. Xu Feng couldn't help but said, it's okay, it's settled, I'll eat it for you next time. Tang Shining said, took out noodles from the refrigerator, and then took 2 eggs. Come on, let's go out to eat. What? Do you think my noodles are not tasty? Tang Shining straightened her face and said seriously, Xu Feng, do you know what happens to those who say my noodles are not tasty? Xu Feng shook his head and asked doubtfully, are they all dead? They all paid a terrible price for this. Tang Shining said with a smile, I'll give you another chance, do you want noodles? Eat, Shining, your noodles must be delicious. Xu Feng said quickly and righteously. Ask for a recommendation ticket, ask for a reward. Chapter 67. After a while, Tang Shining made a pot of noodles and filled a large bowl for Xu Feng. Xu Feng looked at the noodles in front of him, and there was a poached egg, and the aroma was overflowing, so he couldn't help but started, and he finished eating a bowl of noodles in a short while. Xining, you really did a good job on this side. Xu Feng wiped his mouth and said. Tang Shining, however, ate very slowly and politely. She said, "That's right, I've been cooking noodles since I was a child. If it weren't for the lack of ingredients in your place, I could make better ones." Most of the pot of noodles went into Xu Feng's stomach, and he patted his belly in satisfaction. "It would be great if I could eat this noodles all the time." Tang Xining blushed imperceptibly, and snorted coquettishly, "You think beautifully." After eating, it was getting late. Xu Feng personally took Tang Xining downstairs, watched her get into the taxi, and then returned upstairs in peace. It's just that in the darkness and the distance, a certain eye has been watching them. After a night's rest, Xu Feng was about to go to a pawn shop in the city to find out a market the next day, but suddenly received a call from home. It was my father who called, saying that Xu Feng's mother accidentally suffered from heat stroke the day before yesterday and is now in the county hospital. When Xu Feng heard this, he was very anxious, so he gave up the plan to go to the pawn shop, and immediately decided to go home. Dad kept stopping him, saying that it was okay, and told him not to come back and not delay work. But don't say that Xu Feng didn't have a job in the first place. Even if he was really at work, he would have to go home and have a look before he could rest assured. No matter what, other things in this world would never be as important as family affection in his heart. When I came to the bus station, I immediately bought a ticket to go home. Xu Feng went to university in Jiangcheng, and his hometown is in the countryside of a county-level city in a neighboring province. It takes only 5 or 6 hours by car from Jiangcheng. Sitting in the car, watching the trees on both sides of the road keep receding, my heart gradually became urgent. The people sitting in the car are all from their hometown, and they all speak the dialect of their hometown, which sounds very cordial. After driving for more than 5 hours, they arrived at a station in County A in the afternoon. After getting off the bus, Xu Feng took a taxi directly to the county hospital. When Xu Feng got off the car at the hospital gate, he saw a girl in a light green t-shirt waiting there. Seeing him getting out of the car, the girl ran up and shouted cheerfully, "Brother!" It was Su Yaotong, Xu Feng's younger sister who was in high school. Xu Feng stepped forward and patted the girl's head. "How is it? Mom is okay." The girl said, "It's okay. I've been in the hospital for 2 days, and I'm about to be discharged today." "Well, you will be in the 3rd year of high school in the second half of the year. When will school start?" "There are still more than 10 days. Why do you ask people such questions as soon as you come back? It's too annoying." Xu Feng smiled awkwardly. "Okay, I know you don't want to go to school. High school is hard, so you can stick to the last year." The two brothers and sisters came to the ward while talking, but as soon as they entered, they saw that their parents had already packed their things and were sitting on a hospital bed. Xu Feng stepped forward and said, "Mom, are you okay?" Seeing her son, Wu Xianglan was obviously very happy, and said, "Mom is fine. Didn't your father tell you not to come back?" "You child." Xu Xinglian, Su's father next to him, said, "Your mother heard that you are coming back. She insisted on leaving the hospital today. All these things have been packed, and I will wait for you." So the family of 4 left the hospital, took a bus at the county bus station, and went home. After returning home, Wu Xianglan went into the kitchen to cook something delicious for Xu Feng. Xu Feng wanted her to rest for a while, but he still had to do it, saying that Xu Feng was hungry and thin outside. Then Xu Xinglian told Xu Feng that the reason for his mother's heat stroke was that the weather was too hot before, and she didn't listen to the persuasion to go out to work, which finally led to heat stroke. Xu Feng felt very uncomfortable when he heard this. After thinking for a while, he had an idea in his mind and said, "Dad, didn't I send you and Mom 5 yuan last time?" Xu Xinglian said, "Yes, your mother and I saved the money for you. You said it seems that some kind of completion award has been awarded." "Yes, but Dad, I gave the money to you and Mom. You don't need to save money for me." "There's something I didn't tell you." "What's the matter?" Xu Xinghao asked curiously. "I have started a business based on my graduate design product, and I have already received a lot of investment." Xu Feng knew that he had to find a good excuse so that he could give money to his parents in an open and honest manner, otherwise the old man would always be worried about whether he really made money, and said that starting his own business was the best way. No matter how much money there's, it can be explained. After a pause, he continued, "So Dad, you and Mom won't have to work anymore. I will take care of you and Mom, and you don't have to worry about my sister's college money." Wu Xianglan heard it in the kitchen, and said, "Fenger, you don't have to worry about me and your dad. We can still do it. We can help you. Don't stress too much. Besides, even if you start a business, then it's also very risky, so be careful. No, Mom, listen to me. In the following time, Xu Feng took the boss's efforts to convince the second elder that he could indeed earn a lot of money, and they could really have a good rest. The next day, several aunts in the village heard that Xu Feng had returned, so they ran to his house to see him. Xu Feng is one of the few in the village who has been admitted to a university, and it is a key university, so everyone in the village knows him. The children of those families were not up to the mark. Some went out to work in the society after finishing junior high school, and some just went to some specialized schools. Although they said they envied Xu Feng and how useful Xu Feng was, they were also jealous in their hearts. But recently, they heard rumors that the kid from the Xu family couldn't even find a job after graduation. They were skeptical at the beginning, but now that Xu Feng had returned home, they couldn't help but believe it, because under normal circumstances, this fresh graduate must be busy with work. How could he have time to come home? He must have not found a job. Chant. Those aunts then made an appointment to come to Xu Feng's house to find out. Seeing Xu Feng, they first complimented him, and then asked cryptically what Xu Feng was doing now from various angles. Xu Feng thought they had good intentions at first, so he didn't care, saying that he was preparing to start a business. Those aunts, although their education level is not high, but they also know how to start a business, thinking that you are the only one. Your family is so poor, don't you need money to start a business? You must have failed to find a job, so find a nice excuse. So some of them, pretending to compliment them, started talking about how good their children are. Aunt Sue at the head of the village said, Ye Feng, you went to a good university, but my boy is not bad either. He has graduated for 2 years and now earns tens of thousands of yuan a month. Aunt Wang next door said, my son is the same. He is on the construction site with his cousin, and now he has a monthly salary of, yuan. Aunt Joe said to the diagonally opposite door, that's right, but I heard that there are too many college students now, and many of them can't find a job after they come out. Alice, what's the use of studying more? Xu Feng has been listening quietly, and now he realizes that these aunts who are free and have nothing to do, came to see him specially, because they wanted to pretend to be aggressive in front of him, and wanted to use their own failures to prove that their children did not go to school back then. How right. With a sneer, Xu Feng said, Aunt Sue, Aunt Wang, Aunt Joe, don't show how powerful your son is here, because it has nothing to do with me, and I'm really starting a business. At this time, Wu Xianglin also came out and said, my Fenger is really starting a business, and he sent me and his dad 5 yuan last month. Those aunts were full of disbelief, and laughed and said a few compliments, but no one could hear the sarcasm in their voices, and then they left one after another. Chapter 68. Watching them walk away, Wu Xianglin looked at Xu Feng and said, Fenger, don't pay attention to what they say, Mom trusts you, let's go to eat. Xu Feng knew in his heart that these people in the village were secretly comparing each other. If anyone's life was better, he would feel uncomfortable in his heart. It could even be said that he wished for the other party's life to be worse. It seems that only in this comparison can people find the value of their own existence. Temporarily putting aside the unhappiness caused by the aunts, Xu Feng followed his mother into the house, and Wu Xianglin had already cooked a table full of dishes on the table. Eating the dishes made by his mother, the whole family enjoyed themselves together, and Xu Feng was suddenly moved. What is more important than the love of his family? After eating and going to bed at night, Xu Feng already had a plan in mind. He planned to take his parents and sister to the county town for shopping the next day. The last time I sold my graduation project for 300 million, in addition to the, sent to my parents and the rest is still lying in the bank card. The money is dead, and it can only be used on the people closest to me. It works. Early the next morning, after dinner, Xu Feng told his parents and sister to go shopping. Su Xinglian and Wu Xianglin thought their son wanted to buy something, so of course they agreed. So the family set off to the city, but from the village to the city, they had to wait for the bus. On a hot day, the family waited for more than half an hour before a bus arrived late. Xu Feng was in good health and was sweating from the heat. He suddenly made up his mind to buy a car when he went to the county seat later, so that it would be more convenient for the family to travel in the future. When the bus arrives in the city, Su Yaotong is ready to go in the direction of several big shopping malls after getting off the bus. As a girl, she has a natural love for shopping. Yaotong, wait a minute. Xu Feng called her to stop, and then said to Xu Xinglian, "Dad, I thought about it when I was in the car just now. It is inconvenient for our family to travel without a car. Let's go first buy a car." Xu Xinglian was taken aback. He wondered if his son had been stimulated by something, why he said that buying a car was as easy as buying a caddy of cabbage. "Fenger, I know that what those ants said yesterday hurt your self-esteem, but you really don't have to force it. We can work hard slowly." Xu Feng said with a smile, "Dad, I didn't force it. In fact, I have really made a lot of money, and it was not stolen. Now I want you and Mom to live a better life." Wu Xianglin next to him was not at ease. She knew that her son had been very strong since he was a child, so she gently persuaded, "Fenger, your parents know you are filial, but your father can't drive. You buy it now and wait a few days. You left. Isn't the car left at home for nothing?" Xu Feng scratched his head, thinking about it. It's true, Dad can't drive. But he made up his mind and said, "It doesn't matter, buy a car first, and it won't be too late for Dad to take his driver's license test later." Then he turned to his sister and said, "Yaotong, let's go buy a car first. How about buying you beautiful clothes later?" Okay. Su Yaotong stepped forward and put his arms around Xu Feng's arm and said, "Brother, you really made a lot of money? You didn't lie to us, did you?" "Of course it's true," Xu Feng said pamperingly and scratched the little girl's nose. Xu Xinglian knew that he couldn't hold back Xu Feng, so he had no choice but to follow him to the place where cars were sold in the city. City A is just a county-level city. There is not even a 4S store in the entire county. There are only some secondary distributors concentrated on one street. A family came to this street and randomly picked one to go in and have a look. The spending power of county-level cities is limited, and it is the off-season now, so there are few car models in the store. Xu Feng himself got his driver's license test in his junior year, but in fact he didn't have much research on cars. The rest of the family didn't know much about cars, so Xu Feng wanted to find someone to come out and ask, but after calling several times, no one in the shop agreed. Xu Feng went inside and saw a fat guy sleeping. Xu Feng yelled several times to wake up the fat man. The man opened his sleepy eyes and muttered, "Someone buys a car at this time." He yawned and slowly got up. Next, Xu Feng expressed that he wanted to buy a car, and asked him to help introduce the car. He saw Xu Feng's family, dressed in ordinary clothes, and knew that their spending power was not good. So he tried his best to introduce some miscellaneous brand cars, all of which were around, 2, yuan. Looking at these cars, Xu Feng shook his head, and if he wanted to buy one, he would buy a better one for his father. After listening to the fat man introduce several civilian models, Xu Feng said directly, "Boss, just introduce me some mid to high-end models worth more than 20 yuan. The fat man was upset when King Ming was disturbed, but he cheered up and introduced it for a long time, and the young man with no hair growing in front of him was not only indifferent. "Now let yourself introduce mid to high-end models with more than 20 yuan, no matter how he looked at it, the group in front of him didn't seem to be able to afford it. You should know that he can only sell a few mid to high-end models in a year." So he said impatiently, "A mid to high-end model? Can you afford it, kid? Waste of my saliva. I don't think you really want to buy a car. I'm going to sleep." "Really, cut? A guy who looks down on people with a dog's eyes." Xu Feng shook his head. This kind of people is the most indispensable thing in the world. It is the same in urban and rural areas, but those stores in the city have received professional training and will bury that contempt in their hearts. And this small county dealer, obviously, the performance is more obvious. The fat man's ears were quite good, and he happened to hear Xu Feng's words. He turned around and said in a high-spirited manner, "Damn it, who are you scolding? Fatty's body is strong and strong. When he becomes fierce like this, ordinary people may be really frightened by him, but unfortunately he met Xu Feng." Seeing this, Xu Xinglian from behind was about to tell Xu Feng to leave. He didn't want to cause trouble, and was afraid that his son would suffer. But Xu Feng's figure changed suddenly, and then there was a burst of cracking slaps like popping beans. When he stopped, the fat man's face was already swollen, and the corners of his mouth were full of blood. Xu Feng said coldly, "Keep your mouth clean. If you dare to do this again next time, you will be hit all over the place with teeth." The fat man thought he was careless, so Xu Feng slapped his mouth. He roared, and suddenly punched Xu Feng in the chest. "Ah! Brother, be careful!" Su Yaotuang shouted worriedly from behind. Xu Feng stretched out his hand to easily catch Fatty's punch, and then only heard a click. Fatty let out a terrifying scream. His hand was twisted and dislocated by Xu Feng. The fat man was so frightened that he didn't dare to move anymore. Just now, he really felt the terrifying power of the young man in front of him. Next time, be more careful. People like you can also open a store. It's amazing. Xu Feng shook his head. He didn't want to fuss too much with this kind of person, so he took his family directly to a shop next door. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69. The shop next door is a hostess, and she is obviously very enthusiastic. Seeing Xu Feng and the others come in, she enthusiastically served water and tea. There was still anger in Xu Feng's heart, and he said directly, "Boss, which is the most expensive car here? Just introduce it to me." The female shop owner thought that this young man had a serious tone, but she still introduced happily, "Handsome man, it seems that you are buying a car for home use, so let me recommend to you the best one in our store, the latest Audi A4L high-end version. The power is 2.5 T, and then..." She said a lot at once, many of which were very professional, and Xu Feng probably understood, so he asked Xu Xinglian on the side, "Dad, what do you think of this car? Let's buy it." Xu Xinglian didn't know much about cars, but he saw that his son really wanted to buy a car, so he let his son make the decision, so he agreed. Xu Feng said to the female shopkeeper, "Then this one." The female shopkeeper was overjoyed. She didn't expect that this young man was really a money owner, and this car was close to 50. Xu Feng took out his bank card and asked him to swipe it directly, and then went through various procedures. The female shopkeeper was considerate. Knowing that Xu Feng was buying a car for the first time, she offered to take them to the city's vehicle management office to complete the formalities. So Xu Feng drove his family and the female shopkeeper to the vehicle management office in a newly bought car. The procedures were quite complicated, but with the help of the female shopkeeper, the process was completed in more than an hour, and the license plate was successfully obtained. In the following time, Xu Feng drove his family to the largest shopping mall in the city. "Yaotuang, you can just pick what clothes you want to buy. You don't need to save money, you know." "Great," Su Yaotuang said happily. "I want to buy a lot of nice clothes and school bags." Well, Xu Feng pampered his younger sister's hair, and then said to his parents, "Mom and Dad, it's the same with you. You can buy whatever you want." Xu Xinglian saw with his own eyes that his son bought a car worth 50 yuan without blinking an eye. He knew that his son had really made a lot of money, so he felt completely relaxed. So the two old people happily accompanied the brothers and sisters to the shopping mall for an afternoon and bought a bunch of clothes. After shopping, Xu Feng wanted to take the family to find a place to eat, but Wu Xianglin said that eating out was unhealthy, and she wanted to go home and cook for herself. Xu Feng didn't insist, so he drove home. A good car is different. There is no noise at all when driving, and the interior is luxuriously decorated and the ride is very comfortable. "Dad, I think there is a driving school in the town. When we go back, we will register for you directly. From now on, it will be convenient for you to drive to pick up your sister or go to the county." Su Yaotong grinned and said, "Yes, Dad, you can drive to school to pick me up from now on." Su Xinglian smiled and said, "Okay, then go to sign up later, but I heard people say that the driver's license test is very difficult." "It's not difficult, Dad. You have a junior high school education, and your driver's license is enough." Xu Feng smiled. So on the way home, when passing by the driving school in the town, Xu Feng took his father to sign up by the way. Then I drove back home. When the car drove into the village, it was evening and most people were at home. When everyone saw such a brand new car driving in, they all talked about it and guessed who bought the new car. There were even a few curious village boys running behind the car, laughing and joking. In the end, everyone found that the car was parked in front of Su's house, and Xu Feng's family came out of it. The children came up laughing and said, "Brother Xu Feng, this is the car you bought." Another little girl said, "This car is so beautiful." Su Yaotong said, "That's right, the car my brother just bought today is beautiful." At this time, some adults in the village also heard the sound and gathered together, including the three aunts who mocked Xu Feng yesterday. Aunt Jo looked around the car. Her face was obviously ugly, but she hid it well. She said with a coquettish smile, "Brother Su, did you win some kind of big prize? Why did you suddenly buy a car and come back?" "Gone." Su Xingliang smiled and said, "Where did you win the lottery?" "I never buy lottery tickets. My boy bought them for me. I won't let him buy them. He insists on buying them, saying that it will be convenient for him to go to the streets in the future." Aunt Jo glanced at Xu Feng and said with a smile, "Boy Feng, you are really filial." Xu Feng smiled slightly and said, "My parents have paid so much for me, it's all due." Then the villagers all praised Xu Feng one after another, saying that Su Xingliang and his wife had raised a good son. But among them, Aunt Wang and Aunt Su at the head of the village, when they remembered what they said in front of Xu Feng yesterday, their faces were very ugly. The two of them also came up. One looked at the car, and pretended to say, "I bought a car, but now there are more cars that can be bought, and a car costs less than 10 yuan. The other said, "Yes, my kid also said that he will buy a car when he comes back for the Chinese New Year this year." Xu Feng smiled lightly, but he didn't want to argue with these two women. But there was a high school student from the village next to him, who happened to be at home during the summer vacation, and he also came to see the excitement, and said at this time, "Ms. Wang, Brother Xu Feng's car is worth more than 100,000. If I read correctly, it should be an Audi A4L. The latest model, but I don't know what configuration it is, but no matter what, it costs at least 30. Su Yaotong snorted and said, "Ermeo, you still know cars. My brother bought a high-end model, which cost more than 50 yuan. The boy who spoke was the same age as Su Yaotong in the village, and both of them went to high school in the city. Aunt Wang and Aunt Su didn't know what Audi was, but when they heard that the car in front of them cost 50 yuan, they completely lost their temper, couldn't brag about it anymore, and left in despair. When the other people heard that the car cost 50 yuan, their jaws dropped in shock. They looked at Xu Feng's family differently, thinking that this family was really going to be prosperous. The villagers gathered around for a while before they dispersed. For the next time, Xu Feng plans to stay at home for a while. Anyway, he doesn't have any urgent matters now. There are still 2 years left in the enmity with the song group, so there is no rush. However, on the third day, Xu Feng was helping his younger sister with homework at home, but suddenly received a call from an unfamiliar number, which indicated that the place of ownership was Jiangcheng. He answered with doubts, "Hello? Who is it?" "Your girlfriend is in our hands. If you want someone, go to an abandoned factory in Qingshan district outside the city. Don't call the police, otherwise your girlfriend." Xu Feng was stunned when he heard this, thinking about my girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend anymore. He couldn't help saying, "Brother, did you make a wrong call? I have broken up with my ex-girlfriend for a long time." "Really? Then listen to this voice." There was a moment of silence on the phone while talking, and after a while, when Xu Feng thought the other party had hung up the phone, a woman's exclamation suddenly came from the receiver, "Xu Feng, save me, Xining? Hey, is that you?" But at this time, the male voice was replaced again, "Before tonight, you must arrive, otherwise." Then he hung up the phone. Xu Feng was in a mess. He didn't know what happened, but he knew it was not a joke. So he hurriedly said to his parents, and left home to go to Jiangcheng. Chapter 70. Xu Feng drove non-stop to Jiangcheng, and then went to the abandoned factory outside the city alone according to the address provided by the other party. It's not that he never thought of calling the police, but he thought of the other party's threat. If calling the police would cause the other party to do something that would hurt Tang Xining, he would never allow that to happen. So after thinking about it, I didn't call the police. It's just that Xu Feng was thinking about who the other party would be along the way, and he had no idea about this. Because he couldn't think of anyone he had offended at all, thinking that he had not graduated long after graduation, could it be someone he offended in school? And during the whole college period, Zhou Liping was the one who absolutely contradicted him. Could Zhou Liping really do such a crazy thing? With all kinds of doubts, Xu Feng came to the abandoned factory. This factory is in the absolute suburbs, a large factory building. It seems to have been abandoned for some time. On the open space of the factory building, there are piles of various discarded steel and timber and other building materials. The whole factory building is dark, and no one can be seen. Xu Feng walked over cautiously and came to the door of the factory building. The door of the factory building is a rolling door, and there is a gap under it at the moment, and it is not fully locked. Xu Feng stretched out his hand and yanked the door open, but the inside was also dark and quiet. When his eyes got used to the darkness and he could see a trace of it through the moonlight outside, Xu Feng walked in. When I got to the middle of the factory building, suddenly the whole factory building was bright as day, and it turned out that someone had turned on several searchlights at the four corners of the factory building. The strong light made Xu Feng's eyes narrow, and when his eyes got used to it, he saw a large group of people in black clothes waiting at the east corner of the factory building. Xu Feng knew that these people were what he was looking for, so he walked over and said calmly, "I'm here, where's she?" Among the group of people, everyone held steel pipes in their hands, and they were of different lengths. Obviously, they were weapons obtained locally from this abandoned factory. In the middle, there was a chair, and a burly man sat on it. He was wearing a short vest, and the muscles of his whole body seemed to burst the clothes, and his arms were knotted with a yellow tiger tattooed on them. Hearing Xu Feng's question at this moment, he slowly raised his head, and there was an ugly scar on the corner of his face. "You boy, you are really brave enough to dare to fight alone." Xu Feng walked to a place about 10 meters away from them and stood still, then said again, "I'm here, where's she?" The man with the scar raised his hand, "Bring her up." Following his words, the little brother behind him separated, and then the two of them walked out with Tang Shining in their arms. I saw that Tang Shining's hands were tied behind her back, and a piece of tape was pasted on her mouth. Her hair and clothes were a little messy. When she saw Xu Feng, she struggled violently, making a woo-woo sound from her mouth. He kept shaking his head, as if he wanted Xu Feng to escape quickly. When Xu Feng saw Tang Shining, seeing her like this, his eyes suddenly became bottomless darkness. He said to the man with the scar expressionlessly, "Who are you guys?" The man with the scar said, "Why can't you remember? Then let me help you recall." He clapped his hands, and then a few people came out from behind him. Those people were also wearing black t-shirts, they were all young, and they also held steel pipes in their hands. Looking at these people, Xu Feng still had no impression at all, and could not help frowning. One of the men in black who came out said, "Why, boy, don't you recognize me? A month ago, at the KTV in the university town, it was you boy who brought your classmates and made us lose all of them. To save face, our brother ended up lying in the hospital for more than half a month." After he said this, Xu Feng began to have a little impression. Sure enough, the few who came out were the gangsters who were beaten up in the KTV at that time. After figuring out where these people came from, Xu Feng felt at ease, so he could beat people with confidence. Xu Feng smiled faintly. "I remembered, it turns out that you scumbags, why don't you think you haven't been beaten enough? Do you want to continue to be beaten?" Those little bastards exploded in anger, cursing, "Boy, you are too crazy, you are the one who got beaten up today." Xu Feng glanced at Tang Shining, and said, "You guys let her go first, as long as you come after me for anything." The scarred man said, "Let her go?" "Yes, but you have to kneel down and apologize to my brothers." "Kneel down? Kowtow to apologize?" Xu Feng laughed. Xu Feng, only kneel to my parents and ancestors in my life, and you scumbags are worthy." The man with the scar shook his head, sighed and said, "Young man, you are too crazy, you are too ignorant. As a human being, you should be more in order." "Oh? Interesting." Xu Feng laughed. "You, the boss of a gangster, actually talk to me about being in awe, haha." The man with the scar said, "Okay, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. You injured our brothers back then, and today I, Wang Hu, are here to seek justice for them." As he said that, a murderous look suddenly appeared in his eyes, like a tiger out of the cage. "Don't blame us for bullying the few, brothers, let's fight together." Until he knelt down and begged for mercy. Xu Feng smiled contemptuously, "Then let's go together, with all due respect, in my eyes, you are all small trash." Those gangsters were successfully enraged, and they raised the steel pipes in their hands one after another, and rushed towards Xu Feng together. Having experienced the world of zombies and the fighting in the rivers and lakes, in Xu Feng's eyes, these gangsters are like 3-year-old children holding a mallet, without any threat at all. Standing still, when the gangsters rushed to the front, Xu Feng took the shot calmly, walking in the rain of sticks, but it was like strolling in the courtyard. Every time he gently handed out his palm, the people he touched would vomit blood and fly away. Although there were many gangsters, none of them could touch a piece of Xu Feng's clothes, let alone hurt him. In this way, the more than 20 punks who besieged all lay on the ground vomiting blood and howling in a short while. That Wang Hu was sitting on a chair with his eyes wider than a bull's. He himself was a special soldier who retired from the army. Because he was very good at fighting, he became the first bodyguard of Liu Dadan, an underground entertainment boss in Jiangchen. As an entertainment boss, Liu Dadan is in charge of most of the KTVs, bars, underground casinos and other places in Jiangchen. This Wang Hu is his #1 general. This time Liu Dadan heard that his pony was beaten up by a group of college students who had just graduated in his own place. In their line of business, the most important thing is face. If the younger brother is wrong and doesn't show up, how can anyone work hard? So Liu Dadan personally asked Wang Hu to lead a group of people to deal with Xu Feng, the culprit of that incident. It's just that Xu Feng has been in another world for the past month, and the people can't be found at all. As soon as Xu Feng came back recently, they sent people to watch her. That night when they saw Xu Feng sending Tang Shining downstairs, they also followed Tang Shining by the way. That's why today's scene happened. That Wang Hu never imagined that the young man in front of him actually had such terrifying combat power. Is this still a human being? Xu Feng's eyes seemed to be looking at ants, and he walked towards him step by step. Wang Hu was a burly man, but he trembled in fear. He shouted tremblingly, "Don't come here, I will be rude to this little girl if you come here. Ask for a recommendation ticket, come and give me some rewards." And Isaac. Chapter 71 Perfect Shock. As Wang Hu said, he pulled Tang Shining aside, and put his hands around her neck. Xu Feng stopped in his tracks, his eyes glowed menacingly, and he said in a low voice, "I hate the feeling of being threatened." The voice landed, his figure changed, and at a speed that was almost invisible to the naked eye, he punched Wang Hu on the forehead, and Wang Hu's huge body was directly blasted more than 10 meters away. Tang Shining seemed to be stunned by fright. She stood there dumbfounded, her big eyes were already filled with tears. When Xu Feng saw her, the murderous look in his eyes suddenly turned into full of tenderness. He stepped forward and tore off the tape on her mouth, and said in a low voice, "Xining, I'm late." As soon as the tape on her mouth was torn off, Tang Shining burst into tears, and Xu Feng immediately untied the rope from her hands. Tang Shining couldn't bear it any longer, and hugged Xu Feng tightly, her body trembling from crying, but she couldn't say anything. Xu Feng hugged her, stretched out his hand to gently stroke her hair, and comforted her in a low voice, "Don't be afraid, it's safe now." Tang Shining cried for a while, and then slowly recovered, sobbing softly, "Xu Feng, why are you so powerful?" Haha, when a man protects a woman, he always has incredible power. Xu Feng couldn't think of an explanation for a while, so he had to say this. "By the way, these scumbags didn't do anything to you, did they?" Xu Feng asked worriedly. "No, when I was shopping outside the school this morning, I was suddenly tied into the car by these people, and then they took me here. Well, they kidnapped you because of me. I will never let these scumbags go easily today, otherwise I don't know what else they can do in the future. Shining, wait for me first." As Xu Feng said, he lifted up the chair that Wang Hu was sitting on before, and let Tang Shining sit on it. The punks were beaten and couldn't even get up on the ground, but Wang Hu was in the army after all. Although he was punched by Xu Feng just now, he was still able to move. He was sneaking towards the factory gate at a moment ago. Xu Feng saw him as soon as he looked up, and said with a chuckle, "Wang Hu? Are you going there?" As he spoke, he walked slowly towards him. When Wang Hu heard his voice, he trembled in fright. He knew that he would never be Xu Feng's opponent. His face suddenly became ferocious, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Don't force me." "Oh, what if I force you?" Wang Hu suddenly pulled out a pistol from his waist, turned around and quickly pointed the black muzzle at Xu Feng. "Let me and my brothers go, I don't want to kill people." Xu Feng paused, stopped, and said, "Gun? Is this your trump card?" The bridge of Wang Hu's nose was broken by Xu Feng's punch, and his face was covered with blood, making him look even more fierce. He bared his teeth and said, "I admit that your martial arts are really powerful, but I don't believe you can resist bullets." Tang Shining saw it from behind, and stood up with a cry of surprise. "Don't shoot. Aren't you afraid of the police?" Xu Feng raised his hand behind him to signal her not to worry, and then said lightly, "I really don't have the confidence to resist bullets, but are you sure your gun can hit me?" When the words fell to the ground, Xu Feng kicked his feet on the ground, and his body rushed into the air like an arrow from the string, leaving an afterimage on the spot. Wang Hu turned pale in shock. Knowing that the situation was not good, he quickly raised his head and fired a shot into the air, but Xu Feng's figure had disappeared into the air and fell behind him. Just as Wang Hu was about to turn around, he felt that the gun in his hand was taken away. Xu Feng played with the gun in his hand, and punched Wang Hu's stomach with a punch. Wang Hu's body was sent flying again, and he fell to the ground, his body bent like a shrimp. Slowly walking to Wang Hu, who was lying on the ground, Xu Feng held a gun and pointed the muzzle at his head. That Wang Hu no longer had the slightest intention of resisting, but he actually had a bit of backbone, and he didn't howl and beg for mercy like ordinary people facing death, but quietly closed his eyes. However, he closed his eyes and waited for a long time, but the imaginary death did not come. When he opened his eyes, he saw Xu Feng looking at him playfully. "What, you think I'm going to kill you?" As Xu Feng said, he turned the gun upside down, and his hands suddenly turned red, as if surrounded by flames from hell. The pistol was directly and slowly melted bit by bit between his palms. Finally, it fell to the ground with a ding-dong, and it had already turned into a ball of iron lumps. Wang Hu and the punks on the ground looked as if they had seen a ghost. Seeing this, they even began to doubt the materialistic worldview they had accepted since childhood, and wondered whether there is really a God in this world. Xu Feng knelt down, pinched Wang Hu's face, and said in a low voice, "Today, for the sake of not hurting Shining, I will let you go first. If there is a next time, I really don't mind taking it away." The lives of you scum. A gleam of happiness flashed in Wang Hu's eyes. Although he seemed calm in the face of death just now, it didn't mean he didn't have the heart to survive. However, Xu Feng suddenly changed his voice. "I still have to charge a price today, otherwise you may not have a long memory." As soon as the words fell, a simple and broadsword suddenly appeared in his hand. Of all the people present, no one saw where Xu Feng took out the sword, and the fear in the hearts of those punks grew stronger. "Wang Hu, are you their boss? Then you are most responsible." As he raised his sword and dropped his sword, Wang Hu let out a suppressed scream, and his left hand was bleeding profusely. "Take your 3 fingers, remember there will be no next time." As he spoke, he stood up, held his sword and walked towards the punks lying on the ground. Those people saw him coming with a sword, as if they saw a god of death from hell. They all shuddered in fright, regretting in their hearts why they didn't have eyes and offended him. Xu Feng walked up to the punks who were beaten last time. "You guys must have caused this incident, so pay the price." As he said, he swiped the sword one by one, and every gangster had 3 fingers cut off. These little gangsters didn't have Wang Hu's endurance, their fingers connected to their hearts, and their hells were worse than killing pigs. Xu Feng then said to the rest of the people, "As for you, don't let me see you again next time, otherwise." The meaning of it is self-evident. Those little gangsters couldn't help nodding. Obviously they all thought in their hearts that they would never see Xu Feng again in this life. With a thought, Xu Feng put away his long sword, walked towards Tang Shining, and said with a smile, "Okay, let's go." Chapter 72 Full House. Tang Shining was also shocked by the series of abilities displayed by Xu Feng. Her almond eyes widened. She was really curious, but she knew that this was not the time to ask. So obediently followed Xu Feng and walked out, leaving behind the wailing punks. Xu Feng took Tang Shining back to his rented house. Although Tang Shining didn't suffer any harm, it was still a fright and a lot of trouble. "Xining, are you really alright?" Xu Feng asked with concern. "I'm fine." When she spoke, she still looked at Xu Feng blankly. "That's good, but Shining, you don't have to keep staring at me like a monster." Xu Feng said with a wry smile, "You've already been staring all the way." Tang Shining blinked her big eyes and said, "I'm curious, give it to me quickly." "Ah, Shining, you see that you were brought to that abandoned factory building today, and your clothes are all dirty." Xu Feng pushed her in while talking, "So you should take a good hot bath first. But, you. Let's talk about it after you take a shower." Xu Feng said and quickly closed the bathroom door. Patting his chest, Xu Feng returned to the living room, sat down on the sofa, and muttered, "It's over. How should I explain it to her? Do I really want to tell her about the mutated mobile phone? No, can she accept this?" Xu Feng scratched his head in confusion. "What should I do?" "Yes." Xu Feng raised his head, his eyes lit up. "I can ask the system." He quickly summoned the system in his mind and asked, "Sister System, do you think I should tell her about your existence?" The always calm voice of the system sounded, "The less people know about my existence, the better. You are too weak now. If someone wants to snatch it, can you be sure that nothing will go wrong? But Shining, you said she would snatch it? Impossible. IQ is worrying, and I didn't say she snatched it. What if she falls into the hands of the enemy like this time, and is coerced to reveal my existence? Well, you're right. For her safety, I won't tell her for now. Xu Feng already had an idea in his mind, and quickly thought of a less outrageous excuse. Just as he was planning in his mind, he suddenly heard Tang Shining's calling from the bathroom. The voice was faint, as if telling him to go over. Xu Feng's old face flushed, wondering if he wanted it. This is too exciting. However, he was still physically honest. He had already quickly ran to the bathroom door, and said, Shining, did you call me? Do you want my help? Yes. The voice was very small. Then I just came in. Xu Feng swallowed as he spoke, and was about to reach out to push the door. Hooligan. Inside Tang Shining's face flushed, don't come in. Ah. So Xu Feng was completely confused and refused to let him in, so how could he help? I didn't let you in, I mean, is there? The voice stammered. Shining, tell me, what's the matter? Do you have girls' clothes? In this way, Xu Feng suddenly realized he remembered to ask Tang Shining to take a bath in a hurry, but he didn't expect that she didn't have a change of clothes. Shining, I really don't have girls here. After a few minutes, in the living room, Tang Shining was sitting on the sofa, wiping the water from her hair with a towel. She was wearing a men's white shirt, which was very large and hung down to her right side. It turned out that Xu Feng had no choice but to find a clean unworn shirt of his own and hand it to Tang Shining inside. When she came out wearing a shirt with wet hair, Xu Feng realized that girls look so good in men's shirts. Big shirt, loose cover on the girl's body, the hem is very long, leaving only Xu Feng was at this moment. Xu Feng sat aside with 2 lumps of toilet paper stuffed in his nose. His eyes still couldn't leave the beauty. After finishing wiping her hair, Tang Shining turned her head to look at Xu Feng, and burst out laughing. Xu Feng, you are exaggerating. No exaggeration, I really had a nosebleed. Due to her blocked nose, she spoke in a humming voice. Okay, let's go back to the previous question, Tang Shining said as she got up, walked excitedly to sit next to Xu Feng, and said, why do you know those martial arts? It's even better than the martial arts masters in TV novels. Well, Xu Feng said, let me wipe it first. As he spoke, he raised his head, then took a few more sheets of paper from the coffee table, and replaced the paper on his nose. Tang Shining blushed, and asked intentionally, is my charm really that great? Yes, absolutely. Xu Feng nodded hurriedly. Really, what about this? Tang Shining said. Xu Feng's body froze, as if he had floated into the clouds. Shining, you. Xu Feng said, thinking that he couldn't control so much. People are so proactive. But when he was about to fight back, Tang Shining giggled, ran away from him, ran to the other side of the sofa, and said with a coquettish smile, I won't tease you anymore, just tell me. Xu Feng patted his head in embarrassment, thinking that he was so small that he would have to make up for it sooner or later. My martial arts are actually nothing. You may not believe me if I tell you. When I was in elementary school, I went to buy lollipops outside the school once, and then I met an old beggar. He said that my bones were strange, and he was willing to accept me as a disciple. After that, I worshipped him as my teacher, and studied with him for 6 full years before I got the skill I have today. Xu Feng spoke in such a serious manner that even he himself wondered if he had really met such an old beggar when he was in elementary school. But Tang Shining on the opposite side had a look of disbelief. Your lie is too outrageous, HMPH, do you really think I'm that easy to lie? Forget it. If you don't want to tell me, I won't ask. Xu Feng said with a smile on his face, everything I said is true. By the way, it's too late now. Why don't you rest at my place today? Anyway, I have 2 rooms here. Okay. Tang Shining's face was flushed, and she felt her heart beating very fast. Chapter 73 Gold Trading. So Tang Shining stayed that night. Of course the 2 of them slept in 2 rooms, purely nothing happened. The next day Xu Feng personally sent her back to school and told her to be careful in the future. Tang Shining promised him that she would be safe in school without going out of school. Xu Feng felt a little relieved, and then he went to some pawn shops in Jiangcheng to ask about gold pawns. He had already checked out several relatively large pawn shops in Jiangcheng before, and now he went directly to one of the shops called Huaxiapawn. This store is located in the downtown business district. It is a large-scale pawnbroker with chains all over the country. Take the elevator to the 6th floor of the building where the store is located. When you get out of the elevator, you will find a luxuriously decorated lobby. There are large lights on the ceiling and leather sofas in the hall. Obviously, the people who come to the pawn shop are definitely big customers. Modern people can pawn either cars, houses, or some family antiques. As soon as Xu Feng walked in, a beautiful woman in a cheongsam came up to greet him, invited him to sit on the sofa, served the best Westlake Longjing tea, and then retreated. After a while, a middle-aged man in a suit and a pair of black-rimmed glasses came out from the inside. He walked over and sat opposite Xu Feng. Taking a quick look at Xu Feng, he said, "Hi, I'm Luo, the manager here. I don't know what your name is, sir." Xu Feng took a sip of tea, put it on the coffee table, and said, "My surname is Xu. I didn't expect you to have an old-fashioned look here, not bad." "Hello, Mr. Xu, the pawn industry has existed since ancient times," he said, adjusting his glasses. "I wonder what Mr. Xu wants to pawn." "Well, gold." Since the other party went straight to the point, Xu Feng didn't need to turn the corner. "Oh? For gold, we have to judge its fineness and authenticity first, and then give the price." "No problem," Xu Feng said, with a thought. He took out 2 gold ingots from his portable space, each with about 50 taels, and put them on the coffee table. Although the manager, Luo, didn't see where Xu Feng took out a gold ingot, he didn't think too much about it. In his job, he should not ask questions about customers. He pushed his glasses, picked up a gold ingot, and turned it over in his hands to study it, but the expression on his face gradually became more and more surprised, because he found that it was actually a gold ingot from the Tang dynasty. Based on his many years of experience, it is absolutely impossible to make a mistake. The ingots from the Tang dynasty can be regarded as antiques in modern times. There are very few circulating in the world, and generally they can only be found in ancient tombs. I thought to myself, could this young man in front of me be a tomb robber? Mr. Xu, if I'm not mistaken about your gold ingot, it should be from the Tang dynasty. That's right, I don't know what the price is. As for the price, if you only look at the price of gold, its purity is actually not high. The ancient smelting technology is insufficient, so there should be a lot of impurities in it, but because it is an antique, the price is different. Mr. Xu, let me tell you the truth. He pushed his glasses. If you get it to an auction house, it's not surprising that a gold ingot from the Tang dynasty sold for hundreds of thousands. So much? Xu Feng didn't understand this aspect at all. He thought to himself that if a single gold ingot can sell for hundreds of thousands, wouldn't he still have so many? However, Mr. Xu, as you know, there are very few gold ingots from the Tang dynasty on the market now. If you sell them for auction privately, you may be in trouble, because these things all flow out of ancient tombs. When Xu Feng heard what he said, he already understood the meaning. If he put it up for auction, he might be approached by people from the country. "I understand, just tell me how much you can offer." "Well, for these 2, how about I am willing to bid 150 million. Xu Feng made a rough estimate in his mind. 2 gold ingots totaled 100 taels. In ancient times, 1 tael was about 37.5 grams, and 100 taels was 3,750 grams. According to the market gold price of about 200 yuan per gram, the price of pure gold is only 80 million. Period. The other party's bid was acceptable, but Xu Feng didn't just sell these 2 gold ingots, he also had a lot of them in his carry-on space, and he wanted to sell them. "I can consider 150 million, but Manager Lu, I still have many of the same gold ingots, can you take them together?" No, Luo was sweating madly. How many more? Is gold a brick in a bad street? But he still smiled and said, "Mr. Xu, I don't know how much you have. If the transaction amount reaches a certain number, I'm afraid I can't make the decision." Xu Feng estimated the gold in his portable space in his mind, and said uncertainly, "About 10 taels. 10 taels of gold." Luo was immediately stunned. Now he suspected that if it wasn't his ears that had a problem, it was the young man in front of him who had a brain problem. Even if you really are a tomb robber, the equivalent weight of this 10 taels of gold is several tons. Can you get it out of the tomb? Seeing his expression, Xu Feng knew that this was not good for him, so he had to keep a low profile. What if something went wrong? So he laughed. Just kidding, I don't have that many, but there are not many. Manager Lu, can you handle it? Lu Bao adjusted his glasses and said in a low voice, Mr. Su, I really can't make up my mind on this. I want to ask the headquarters to see what they think. How about this? How about letting you know? Xu Feng thought, that's all there is to it, so he left his phone number and left temporarily. Hey, it seems that this gold is also a hot potato in modern times. I hope it can be sold safely. Muttering, Xu Feng knew that the best way would be to sell it abroad, which would be much safer than at home, but finding a buyer abroad would be very difficult. He had no choice but to put aside his gold business for the time being, went home, and ordered takeaway. While eating the takeaway, he thought about his next move, then Song Xianhu and the Song group can only figure it out slowly. It is really difficult to bring down a large group. However, a smile flashed in Xu Feng's eyes. I like challenging things more and more now. After eating, he took out his mobile phone, turned on the system, and checked the character interface. Name, Xu Feng. Sex, male. Age, 21. Grade, late acquired experience, 879/10000 system coin, 1040 skills, Zixa divine art, 100%, Yanlong palm, 100%, unlock app, WeChat, Kidian reading, Xiaomi video. No way, there are only more than 1000 system coins, and this money is not enough to go to another world. Scratching his head in distress, he thought about how to make good use of the existing resources. Or go to WeChat to shake a fairy? It's my birthday today, I'm 22 years old, but there's nothing to celebrate, so let's work hard. Thank you, God who loves to sleep, only words to refute? Mingjiang, seals, bookworms, lonely coffee, the child of other people's family is me, the tip of your Ye and other book friends. Chapter 74, Heavy Chapter Zombie World. But then Xu Feng denied his idea. It's not that he never thought of relying on the gods to make himself prosperous, but to get benefits from the gods and send things from the fairy world, the system will charge with system currency. The last time I helped Yuelao, I sent a basic marrow washing pill, which cost 500 system coins. What if I sent something else? I am afraid that the required system currency is even more astronomical. I ruled out the option of WeChat in my mind, and made up my mind that I will only hook up with the gods in heaven again when the system currency is sufficient in the future. Then where can I go to earn some system currency? Xu Feng thought for a long time, thinking that the last time he earned more than 2 system coins was in the zombie world. Why not go back to the zombie world to fight? That's it. In the next few days, I will go to the zombie world to earn some system currency. I can just go and see Lin Shui's little girl. I promised to go back and see her. So in the following time, Xu Feng went to the supermarket to buy a lot of food and drink. Now that he has a portable space, it is very easy to carry these things. As for weapons, it is impossible to buy guns in the real world. For cold weapons, the Longquan sword is enough. When he was ready, Xu Feng took out his mobile phone, opened the Kidian app, flipped to the book Zombie World last time, and clicked on the book. He thought it would be sent directly, but he didn't expect a prompt on the phone. Do you want to spend 500 yuan? System currency to buy this world? Puff. Xu Feng spat out a mouthful of old blood. What's the matter? Did I choose the wrong book? But he went back and reconfirmed, there was nothing wrong, it was the same book, and the author's name was a big D, he remembered very clearly. I had no choice but to ask the system in my mind, Sister System, why is there a fee for this world? Not only that, but the price has actually increased. Did I already buy this world last time? Who told you that there is no charge for entering the same world for the second time? The system said plainly. Did you tell me? Did I say so? Xu Feng scratched his head and searched all the memories in his mind, as if the system had never mentioned it, so how could he have such an illusion? Reluctantly continued, okay, even so, why did the price increase? It was only 100 system coins last time. It's normal. The world and each book that the host enters didn't exist before. I used the original power to generate it according to the settings in the book. You have said this many times, but what does it have to do with the price increase? Xu Feng muttered. After the world in the book is generated, it becomes a real small plane in the universe, and it will continue to evolve automatically according to its own logic. So what? Every time you travel, the system currency you pay can be understood as buying a ticket for a time travel. The zombie world has evolved over time after you left, and it is now worth 500 system currency. After this systematic explanation, Xu Feng not only understood the reason for the price increase, but also sadly knew that the money he spent each time was just a ticket for a single time travel, not a world. That is to say, even if you go to the same world again in the future, you will still need system currency, and even due to the evolution of the world itself, the system currency spent may increase. I have nothing to say, the system is too dark, you are a typical capitalist. But after preparing for a long time, all the food is bought, which is equivalent to the warehouse is ready, so it is impossible not to go. So Xu Feng had no choice but to grit his teeth and spend 500 system coins to repurchase the permission to travel through the zombie world. In the fluctuation of space, people disappeared into the room. In the zombie world, at the same place, it was the women's toilet of that shopping mall, where Xu Feng appeared. But this time he didn't collapse weakly to the ground. After looking around, Xu Feng scolded, "Sister System, are you being mean? You sent me to the same women's bathroom for both teleportations." Unfortunately, the system didn't answer him this time. Reluctantly, Xu Feng began to think about the goal of this time. His goal this time is also very clear, to earn some system currency, and then to meet Lin Shuyan. That girl, she was already a level 3 zombie when I left, and I'm afraid she is even more powerful now. The time flow rate between the real world and the virtual world is 10 to 1. It has been about 2 months since I left this world, so in this world, about 2 years have passed. When Xu Feng walked out of the toilet, he couldn't help but think of the time when he met Lin Shuyan here, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Walking in the shopping mall, it was empty, and there was no sign of ordinary zombies. Xu Feng was not surprised. After all, according to his original prediction, this world is a zombie virus artificially created by scientists for the purpose of evolution. As time goes by, those ordinary zombies will definitely be slaughtered slowly, leaving only some high-level zombies and humans. Walking out of the mall and onto the street, it looked like a doomsday wasteland. There are still those abandoned cars in disorder on the street, and occasionally there is a black spot on the ground, which can be seen as the residue of dried blood. 2 years later, many cars can no longer start. Xu Feng searched for a long time in the pile of cars before he managed to find a car that could start. The car was in tatters. Driving around the city, Xu Feng's goal now was to find zombies. Ordinary zombies are gone, but Xu Feng thinks there should be many first-order zombies, but the first-order zombies already have some preliminary intelligence, and they obviously won't wander aimlessly on the street like ordinary zombies. Instead of wandering, hide. This is troublesome. It seems that we can only search slowly. Xu Feng searched for those densely populated communities, and then went to the first floor to search for each room, but when he opened the room, all he saw were dusty furniture, and he didn't even see the shadow of zombies. Searched several neighborhoods in a row, but found nothing. Xu Feng took out a bottle of water from his portable space, took a sip, leaned against the car, and looked at the empty city. This is really weird. It shouldn't be. Did the system say that this world has been upgraded? Why can't I even find zombie hair now? Do I have to make a trip for nothing? Take out something to eat and drink enough. Then Xu Feng did not believe in evil and continued to increase his search efforts, and deliberately selected some places where zombies were most likely to exist, such as shopping malls, schools, hospitals and other places. It's a pity that after searching all afternoon, there was still no result. The sky was slowly turning dark. When the zombies just broke out, the world still had electricity. But now 2 years have passed, and no one has maintained it for such a long time, and the power system has long been finished. After dark, the world will return to the most primitive darkness. Xu Feng found an apartment room, cleaned it, and planned to rest here for the night. Chapter 75 The Law of the Jungle. When Xu Feng fell asleep at night, he suddenly heard some movement outside the apartment. His 5 senses have evolved a lot since he entered the late stage of acquired heaven, and the sound should have come from far away. Xu Feng woke up from his sleep and couldn't help thinking, could it be a zombie? Carefully got up, then opened the door and went out. It was completely dark outside, and there was no moonlight in the sky. If it was an ordinary person, he might be blind when he opened his eyes, but Xu Feng found that his eyes could see some shadows vaguely. Although it was not so clear, it was no problem to distinguish the general shape. He followed the source of the sound and searched for the past. When I came to an open space behind the apartment, I saw two zombies fighting. The zombies' eyes are particularly conspicuous in the dark. One of them is red and the other is green. It was obviously a second-tier zombie and a first-tier zombie. The red-eyed zombie had already gained an absolute advantage and was about to tear the green-eyed zombie into pieces. Xu Feng's sudden appearance made them all startled, and they stopped what they were doing. I said, why the zombies in this world are gone, so you have all moved tonight. The red-eyed zombie felt a strong threat from Xu Feng, and it instinctively dropped the green-eyed zombie in its hand, trying to run away. And Xu Feng came to this world, looking for them. How could he let him escape? Pushing his foot on the ground, Xu Feng's body was like a cannonball, rushing towards the fleeing red-eyed zombie. In the process, the long Quan sword appeared in his hand out of thin air. Xu Feng's speed was much faster than the red-eyed zombie's escape speed, and he quickly caught up with it. He slashed down with his sword, and the red-eyed zombie felt that the danger was approaching, and turned to the side. But Xu Feng's change was even faster, changing from slashing to slashing. With his sword's edge swing, the red-eyed zombie was directly chopped into two pieces, and due to the effect of inertia, it took a few steps before the upper body and lower body were separated open. Following the death of the red-eyed zombie, a system voice came from the mind: kill the second-order zombie, and reward 100 system coins. Xu Feng stepped forward and broke open the zombie's head. Sure enough, there were energy crystals the size of a longan in it. Xu Feng didn't take the crystals immediately, so he was going to collect them first to see if they had other effects. As for the green-eyed zombie, which was already dying from the red-eyed zombie, Xu Feng gave it one last blow and got 50 system coins. Sure enough, in this zombie world, it's the fastest place to get system coins. Knowing that the zombies had changed to be active at night, Xu Feng naturally couldn't go back to sleep, so he immediately went around to search for the zombies. He went to many places that night, and sure enough, he found several first-order zombies. In the days that followed, Xu Feng changed his schedule, sleeping during the day and hunting zombies at night. After several days of observation, Xu Feng discovered that the city at night is the real beginning of life. It seems that there are more strange small animals in the city, and those small animals have also mutated, and the first-order zombies use them as food. In the same way, the second-level zombies feed on the first-level zombies, and of course there are higher-level zombies. All of these formed a complete food chain, and the entire city directly degenerated into a real jungle. Under this wasteland, the law of the jungle showed its power. In the primitive jungle, those creatures came out to hunt for food at night in order to avoid natural enemies, and the same is true for the zombies in S-City now. Xu Feng thought to himself, after being cruelly eliminated through the law of the jungle, can the remaining ones really be considered human beings? What is a human being? What is the difference between man and beast? The history of human development is to keep ourselves away from barbarism and the jungle before we can establish civilization. But these evil scientists directly smash the most precious things of human civilization just to accelerate the evolution of human beings. After sighing, Xu Feng knew that all this was irreversible, and he was now one of the predators in the jungle, but would there be more advanced zombies to hunt him down? Half a month passed in the blink of an eye, and Xu Feng went out to hunt zombies every night. Most of the time, he encountered first-order zombies, occasionally second-order zombies, and he had never encountered third-order zombies. He couldn't help but think of Lin Shuyan, wondering if the little girl is still in S-City at this moment. On the top of a building somewhere in the city, a young girl wearing a white skirt was sitting on the edge of the building, dangling her two legs. The building is hundreds of meters high, and even looking down will cause people to feel dizzy, but she doesn't seem to worry about falling down. At this moment, when the sun was setting, the fiery red setting sun reflected on her little face, and her eyes were a strange purple. She stared blankly at the sinking sunset, and the image of him leaving that day was always in her mind. From that day on, the roof was the place she came to the most, and she would come here every evening to watch the sunset. She remembered that the man said in her heart that he would come back to see her. When will you be back? The sun had completely sunk, but she was still sitting there blankly. The wind ruffled the ends of her hair. The door to the roof opened suddenly, and 3 male zombies walked out. Their eyes were all blue, and they were all third-tier zombies. The 3 zombies walked behind the girl together, glanced at each other, and knelt down on one knee at the same time. They looked at the girl's back with respect and fear in their eyes, and they knew deeply how terrifying that girl was. One of the zombies began to utter a strange syllable, as if to report something to the girl. It took a long time before the girl's voice sounded. The voice was hollow and light. You said, a powerful predator suddenly appeared in the city, and many of our people died under his hands. The zombie continued to utter that weird syllable, as if answering. And, still humans. The girl stroked her hair. It's been a long time since I saw humans in City. Yes, I said that as long as humans enter, they will be killed without mercy. I didn't expect that people would dare to come in. Sighing inaudibly, the girl said, in that case, Xiner, you and Dalan will go meet him. The talking zombie and the other zombie lowered their heads and muttered for a while, then stood up and retreated. There was only one zombie left kneeling there, and the girl said, Erlen, get up. The zombie stood up after hearing the words, and stood silently at the side, looking at the girl. The girl sighed, and said softly, at the beginning, I taught you 3 human languages, but Dalan and Xiner were unwilling to learn them. Only Erlen followed me to learn human languages. The zombie named Erlen remained silent. The girl stood up, opened her arms, and the wind blew her skirt. Do you know why I like to use human language? The zombie said, I don't know. The girl took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and smiled lightly, because he taught me that. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.